Yeah!
Yeah!
Woo! Man, that's how you do it on a Sunday night. That's how you do it on a Monday morning. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Thank you. Thank you, Friar Faithful, for being here this morning. I can definitely feel you. I can see you in the chat, and I'm glad you're here. I really am. My name's Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's the executive producer of the program. Good morning, Paulie.
What a morning.
What a morning indeed. Ben Higgins, fresh
weekend.
out of the beast of the belly, Dodger Stadium.
Made it.
I'm surprised.
Feel almost hungover, which is weird because I didn't have a drop to drink.
I can see
this
that.
weekend.
I can
but
see
it's
that.
Still, there's a sense of like you went out and partied hard last night. I think part of it is simply the emotional intensity of being around all those people who are just crazy. I mean, even the players, everybody in that stadium was just a little too much. Sometimes the dial was turned way up. Of course, the dial is turned way up on their speakers. It is so loud. They play their music and their organ and their in-game entertainment so loud there at Dodger Stadium, you cannot even hear your own thoughts. I know Petco Park is loud, but the Dodgers really do take it to another level. And at some point, I was actually a bit fearful for my safety, sitting out in what they called the auxiliary press box. It wasn't a press box. We were just in the first three rows of the farthest section away in left field, sitting with Dodgers fans, covering the game. And
they stick you out out there.
All the TV people were out there. Even the LA TV people were out there, so I didn't feel too bad about it. But it wasn't the worst place to watch. But as the night went on and Dodgers fans started getting rowdier, it definitely started feeling a little bit dicey in that ballpark.
It's not a good feeling, man, if you've ever been to something that got out of control, right? A concert. I was at a concert one time and a guy pulled a knife. And there's a feeling of, I'm trapped, and I don't know what to do. And it starts brandishing this knife around at this concert, and you're just like, you're scared, man. You want to run for the exits. Certainly, man. There's no reason to be at a concert and a guy pull a knife. There's no reason to go to a baseball game and have the things that happen at that place consistently happen. And, listen, after if you tuned in this morning to hear me absolutely roast the Dodger fans, the Dodger organization, after a good night's sleep about it, I've decided that's exactly what you're going to get today here on Ben and Woods. There's no question.
I expect nothing less.
Absolutely sick to my stomach seeing that last night. Listen, there's a reputation that's been earned there, and it's been earned for a reason. This is not a one-off. Even though Dave Roberts thinks it was not a one-off. This kind of crap happens there all the time. Happened at the All-Star game, for Christ's sakes. At the All-Star game, which is an exhibition, a celebration of the best players in baseball. Full-scale brawls going on in the concourse at an All-Star game. Figure it out. Figure it out. Figure out how to have a couple of beers and go to a baseball game. Not everything needs to turn into MMA, and especially a playoff game. I was so disgusted, man, the fact that not one Dodger player came out and tried to stop it. Dave Roberts didn't try to stop it. They sat there with their hands on their hips. They watched their fans throw garbage and bottles into the bullpen, into right field, in a baseball at Profar in left field. It's pathetic. They should be embarrassed. And I'll tell you where it starts with that organization. It starts right at the top with Dave Roberts. That dude is the first guy out of the dugout every single time, pointing, riling up his players, riling up his fans. He's the first one. And I know he's well-liked in this town. I don't give an F. He's the first one. It starts with him. All he had to do was walk out there and say, knock it off. You saw the Cal coach do it against the Aztecs a few years ago. You've seen it done 1,000 times. He sits in the dugout and doesn't do a thing. In press conferences after the game, he talks about, we took exception to this and we took exception to that. I take exception to you being a really, really crappy leader and an instigator every single time. We've been going through that with this guy for years.
All the way back to the Andy Green days.
All the way back to the Andy Green days. It starts and stops at the top, and it's pathetic. And your fans are pathetic, and you're scumbags. You're scumbags. And that should never happen at a baseball game, ever.
I do feel like, and actually my wife texted me and she said, why don't the Dodgers players walk out, like position by position,
100%.
stand out there with the Padres players, look out at their fans and just basically show them, hey, we're all together here. We're players. We're part of this fraternity. You hear that all the time.
You hear it all the time.
You see Mookie and, Fernando Tatis Jr. sitting down and doing a podcast together. There's a fraternity that goes beyond the extremely intense competition that does go on the field. And that was an intensely competitive game. But there's more that unites those players than divides them, even when they're on
no question
opposing teams.
Yeah.
So
no question.
It would have been a moment maybe for some solidarity that we didn't see from the Dodgers that would have been nice. And I get it. It was a chippy, competitive game between the two teams.
Which, by the way, is fantastic. Fantastic.
Which did have a spillover effect onto the fans. They just, and again, it's not everybody. I did meet a number of really cool Dodgers fans, but there was a lot that were not cool, that drank too much, had a guy just screaming obscenities behind me like the entire game, standing the entire game. And maybe, families out there, I get it. It's a playoff game. It's a baseball game. But I was in the middle of it. I was right above Jurickson, right above. There were fights in the first game that were spilling out over the field and arrests.
That's the other thing. In game one, two Dodger fans, and there's very clear video of it being Dodger fans fighting each other, falling over the wall. You were right there, led away in handcuffs. That's game one. In the very same section that was doing that. Do we need to do the thing? Because that's what they do in this country. Like they did it. Hey, kids will see flavored cigarettes and flavored tobacco, and they'll want to try it, so we can't do it. You have fans spilling over. Do we need to ban alcohol sales, for the actions of a few? And it's not a few. This is every single year at Dodger Stadium. Do we need to do that? Do we need to ban alcohol? Because it's ridiculous.
Now in other sports, you can, like in football, if fans start getting unruly, throw things on the field, they can call a 15-yard penalty. They can actually do some things to impact the game to try to correct fans' behavior. In baseball, they don't really have a mechanism. You can't assign an out.
Foul.
Yeah, ball one.
Right. They don't do that. And the only thing that I could come up with, it would be extreme. Because you don't want to forfeit. I saw people calling, hey, this game should be forfeit. You have to play the game. You start throwing things on the field in a playoff series. You don't get any more home games. Games 3, 4, and 5, if necessary.
But what's to stop a fan from dressing up in other gear? You know what I mean? Like somebody going in and playing double agent. But there should there needs to be something done, man. But and you think about it, happened in the playoffs last year. Yankee fans did it to the Guardians. And Aaron Judge walked his ass out there and told them to stop. Who better to do that than Shohei Ohtani? To walk out and say, guys, what are we doing here? What are we throwing baseballs out on the field for? You'd never see it. Never see it from any of the leadership of that team. Never. They sat there, they watched it, they ran their mouths after the game. And, listen, you plunk one of our players. I thought it was on purpose. So did Dan Plesac. So did Steve Phillips. These are guys who've been around the game for combined.
You can disagree on that opinion if you want,
sure.
But it's certainly a valid opinion to think that Jack Flaherty hit Tatis there, or was extremely uncaring as to whether he came so far inside that he hit him because he did not want to face him at that point.
Ian says Shohei was embarrassed last night. You could tell. No, I couldn't, because he was sitting in the dugout. I couldn't tell he was embarrassed. Get your ass out there and tell them to stop. Period. You don't throw balls at players, Have you guys ever seen the movie Roadhouse? And Jeff Healey and his band are sitting up on stage playing, and they have a cage in front of them because people throw stuff at them. Is that where we're headed at Chavez Latrine? It's absurd. It should never happen, ever. And like you said, Benny, it would have gone a long way to see just one player walk out there. I don't care if it's Kike Hernandez. I don't care if it's Max Muncy. I don't care if it's Will Smith. Go out there and tell them to stop acting like animals. I mean, that's just absurd.
There's so many layers to it also.
There's 1,000 layers.
Jurickson Profar, of all people, making that incredible catch, robbing Mookie Betts of a home run, and then he's chirping with the Dodger fans out in left field. How great
were those fans? Right. At the time, how great were those fans?
It was awesome.
The guy goes, oh!
That's a great moment for the game.
Great moment.
And they all hate Profar for reasons like Will Smith calling him irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Dave Roberts years ago saying, we took exception to the way you don't hit a home run off a Hall of Famer like Kershaw.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. So when you hear that as a low IQ baseball fan like these Dodger fans are, they take that and run with it.
For years and years and years. I mean, what a cool-ass moment. What a cool-ass moment. And again, let me credit those fans at the time there for going, oh, my God, this was amazing. And Profar not saying anything, just jumping up and down and then turning around, firing the ball.
And I talked to Jurickson after the game. And
Can they not make a distinction between that and what they do?
I don't think he even knew that the stadium didn't know that he caught it. You remember, he's just caught this ball.
Right.
He kind of assumes everyone saw him catch it. He doesn't see. He's facing away from Mookie running around the bases. I mean, he's looking at these fans. He's jumping up and down excitedly. I think he kind of felt like everyone knew he caught it, and everyone was cheering because he just made like the most insane home run robbing catch of his life. He's never robbed one.
Yeah.
He wasn't really slow playing it. He was excited and celebrating and just facing the direction of the fans where he had caught it, and it was like really happy. Look at the smile on our YouTube stream. Look at the smile on his face.
Like,
it was incredible.
It was cinema. It was pure
cinema.
And
then later in the game, a video surfaced last night. You probably saw it if you were on social media. Right before the incident of the ball throwing onto the field, Jurickson went out and kindly
handed him a ball, smiling.
Here's your souvenir that I took away from him. Like a really cool fan-player interaction moment. That fan immediately just chucked it onto the field. Not at Jurickson, though.
Just chucked it.
You could say that was dumb, but he was like, he's playing back at Jurickson. But then other people started throwing all the rest of the junk onto the field, and that's where, Jurickson lost his mind. It was even worse in right field with the trash or whatever that was coming out at Tatis. I couldn't see that as well.
Sitting right there camera, next to these people.
The guy, there he is, right there. Doesn't do a thing. Now, again, if you're a security guard in Dodger Stadium, whatever you make, you don't make enough. Like those window washers the other day. I don't know what your salary is,
Can I
but
quickly
it should be
say I didn't talk to really any of the security guards. The staff interactions I had, fantastic. Like the people who worked at Dodger Stadium in the press box down below, so helpful for me, getting through it. So I just want to say that they did treat me quite well while I was there.
Yeah, but again, there's so much more that they could have done last night. That delay, by the way, was 12 minutes long. So let me ask you this. We'll have audio of Dave Roberts talking about it and about all the games he's seen at Dodger Stadium, and he's never seen anything like that. One unruly fan, whatever. 12 minutes, man. What did you think was going on in that 12 minutes that you couldn't have gone out to do something? Take some accountability, which you never do. You never do. And it's a disease in that organization, and it goes all the way up to their broadcaster, Joe Davis. It goes all the way up to Dave Roberts. There's no accountability. It's always the injuries. It's always the energy. They didn't beat us. We beat themselves. They're look in the mirror and take some accountability for your actions, or I guess in last night's case, your non-actions. You didn't do anything, and you absolutely could have and you should have. And you can rest assured that it's not going to happen at Petco Park. It's not happening. State of the Union coming up, 8 a.m. this morning. Pretty fired up.
All right, we will get into the actual playing of the game and, Saturday's game as well. You guys need to give me an update and update all of our listeners who weren't out at AleSmith on Saturday at how that went, because it sounded like it was absolutely
you were very missed, my friend.
Incredible. I felt FOMO not being there with you guys. I'm sure everyone little FOMO that they weren't there up there at Dodger Stadium with me. Saturday wasn't as fun. Obviously, yesterday was pretty incredible. Great theater, being in the clubhouse with those guys celebrating after the game. Very, very intense and emotional. We'll talk all about it coming up. And why don't I just throw out the tease? Jeff Passan's going to be with us. We'll explain coming up as well.
That's a big one.
That's a big one coming up at 7:35 this morning. So we'll get into all of that. Coming up next, good morning, Padres fans. Series tied 1 game apiece. They're heading back to Petco Park. with home field advantage in tow in the National League Division Series. You listen to Ben and Woods and Paul. We'll be back after Kelly Danick's Traffic on San Diego's home of the Padres, 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
So I just want to say how much I missed seeing everybody at the live broadcast at AleSmith. I fully had intended to be there, and then we decided Channel 10 needed me up in Los Angeles. Apparently, so Corey Stewart was there and brought me this shirt to wear as thank you or punishment. Which one is it? I can't tell.
I think it is. I think it's. I mean, it's a perfect fit for you.
It does fit well.
It's got
I must
everything
say.
you love. I mean, it's just
the
it
stars and
screams
stripes,
Ben Higgins.
red, white, and blue, plus brown and gold. SD. It's got Friar logos.
It's silky.
Yeah.
The way
polyestery, I think, is more the
way I described it. The way that I described it at the event was it's a shirt that you buy at a gas station. It's a Padres gas station shirt. I don't know that that's actually licensed by the team. I can't imagine it is.
I bet it's actually not.
So
I haven't seen that at the team store.
You're wearing a bootleg Padres shirt.
I think so. I do.
It is something else. It is as loud as it can be, but it's something else, man. I like it. It looks good on you.
So I did miss everybody. It sounded, when I was on with you guys, I could hear in the background. I mean, Padres fans were bringing it this weekend from San Diego. I cannot even imagine what tomorrow and Wednesday are going to be like at Petco Park. Because the one thing, I talked about how loud the speakers were at Dodger Stadium. Fans at Petco Park are louder. I can say that from sitting now in the stands with the fans at Dodger Stadium. Padres fans bring more noise to a game than Dodgers fans.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a moment in the game yesterday. I'll just bring this up. They have their in-game hosts who are like, firing up, and they do the the food truck race, and they do the hat shuffle and talk to fans, and then they say, "Hey, fans, we want to hear from you. Let's make some noise." And they point to each of the sections. And I don't think this is in-game host 101, but the host said, "I don't think I've ever heard you guys so quiet before." And I go, I don't think you're supposed to say that during a playoff game. Obviously, they were losing at the time, and fans were a little bit silent at that point.
Oh, my God.
You're probably not supposed to point that out if you're a Dodgers in-game stadium host. Hey, I don't think I've ever heard you guys so quiet before. Where's the noise?
Wow.
Yeah,
dude.
Padres have kind of quieted you down a little bit.
I'm trying to think.
There's more noise at AleSmith, I think.
AleSmith was insane. And thank you to all of you guys that came out. Got a chance to talk to a ton of Tier 1s, during the show, on breaks. It was as special of a moment as I've had in radio. And some of the stories that you guys were kind enough to share with me, I will treasure forever. Other than, my family, what I is my reason to get out of bed and come do this every day. You guys letting us know how much it matters to you, bro. It's like fuel. It's like fuel in the car, man. You can't go without it. So,
a couple stories had us in literal tears.
I had to
within 10 minutes of us hitting the air. At
I had
2:30.
to walk outside at AleSmith and compose myself because I had tears running down my face when one of the patrons there came up and told me about her husband who's ill, and said that they will watch the Ben and Woods feed from his hospital bed on YouTube, and it's the one thing he looks forward to the most. And I'm just like, and me, I'm a pretty emotional softy anyway. I cry at the drop of a hat. Ever since I had kids, man, I cry at commercials, music, name it. She told me that. I'm looking her dead in the eye, and I'm like, all right, I need a minute. So I had to walk outside, Benny, right before we took the air, and we made a video for her husband, and he sent us a video back later on in the afternoon that just, I don't even have words for it. It was stunningly beautiful
Very
and incredible
emotional.
and emotional. So that's the vibe there. Everyone was super hyped. Everyone was having a great time. And you know what? About 6 Dodger fans walked in. Everyone started booing him. And then we all laughed and said, ha, 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 buy you a beer. I dapped the guy up, the whole thing. That's how you need to handle it, moving forward. Showing them, hey, this, listen, it's a wild move that you guys came in here amongst, hundreds of Padres fans, but We're not going to devolve and do anything dumb. So I made sure to say, hey, buy him a beer, put it on my tab, whatever. Let's dap him up. Let's have a good time. It's just baseball.
And then the special guest arrived.
Yeah.
And I want to thank, if you missed it, the special guest who came in and sat down with you guys and talked some Padres baseball, because I do feel like San Diego wanted to hear from him. It's been a while since he's been on the air. So thank you to Darren Smith, who is a longtime friend of ours, who came by to AleSmith and was able to sit down with you guys for a while and talk Padres baseball. I thought that was really cool of him.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Thank God he did, because I was absolutely drowning. We had audio problems early. It spun me out. So Paulie was, my co-host.
See, when things go wrong, that's when I try to step in usually. And then with not me there, I was worried about Woods a little bit.
Paulie was my co-host, but when the audio goes south, Paulie's got to go work on the audio. So then I don't have a co-host.
We can't grind through that.
So I'm Kate Winslet on the door, right? This ship is sinking, and I'm like, I'm dying. And then thank God Darren came in. Darren, I told him after, I go, you literally saved our ass, man. You really did. And he told some of the greatest stories, and it's all circular, because it's funny. He told the story. Do we have time for this? Yeah, I'll tell the story. Jurickson Profar is obviously, a guy we're going to be talking about a lot today. His buddy is A.J. Hinch, who's the manager of the Tigers. And he was asking him about some of the guys on the team, and he goes, oh, yeah, you can game plan for Manny. You can game plan for Tatis. We have a plan for all these dudes. He goes, you can't game plan for Jurickson Profar. You don't know what he's going to do. You have no idea what he's going to do. He drives me crazy. There's no game plan for him. Does he have holes in his swing? Yes. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter.
They change from day to day.
Day to day.
What is Jurickson?
And he goes, he's the one player in baseball there is no game plan for. And I went, oh my God, you just blew my mind. So we were talking, and I said to Darren, I go, Jurickson's the guy you want on your team, but you don't want to play against. And I said, just like you, D. Smith. I said, you're always been Jurickson Profar. You love playing with Darren. You don't like playing against him. And we had such a great time. He told some great stories. It was so rad to see him. The audience was super stoked.
Yeah, Brandon says A.J. Hinch is his Skip Schumacher.
That's exactly right. It's very true.
Perfect.
Very true.
Perfect call. Yep.
It is very true.
Andros says Woods did his best Ben impression just plowing through it. I was like, poor Paulie is up there fixing the speakers, and the sales guy's running up going, it's too quiet. It needs to be louder. I'm like,
that ain't happening.
If it's louder, that's when you're getting more feedback. I go, bro, we're dying right now. So well done. We pulled it off. Without Darren, it would have been the worst thing you've ever heard.
I ran into Darren and his wife Leah as they were heading out. I was loading up my car, and we were talking in the parking lot for a few minutes. He was like, man, that was effing awesome. Like, thank you. And I said, look, man, we could have had you in studio. We've been working on this now for a little while.
Yeah, we have.
Behind the scenes. We could have had you in studio, and it would have been great, but it wasn't going to be the same. It was important to us.
It was.
To have you out at a remote in front of people that I assume if they were listening to us, at some point they listened to you.
Big time.
Long before we showed up. And it just, we wanted you to get your flowers and get that proper feeling of just being around the people again, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, and I told him, Betty, and I'm sure you feel the same way. For me, when I wasn't on sports radio, I always looked up to Darren, and I did when I was on sports radio as well. You know what I could always count on from him? Talking baseball. In an NFL town back then, I could always count on Darren Smith talking baseball, which has been our MO since the day we started. We made it a point and a priority because that's what we love. We've never wavered, never once. That's been our commitment too, and I got that from him.
And it's actually because of Darren that we're going to have our special guest on in 1 hour.
100%.
Jeff Passan, and I've seen you guys in the chat. Hey, Jeff's on the list right now.
Yeah,
he's not a friend of Padres Nation at the moment. Yeah, he knows that.
He knows it.
That's why he wanted to come on. He actually texted Darren and said, hey, can I come on? Because I want to talk. I want to be roasted by Padres fans. I want to talk to Padres fans and wear it from Padres fans. And Darren goes, I'm actually not on. And he felt really bad about that.
Felt
right?
Bad,
he didn't
like,
know.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
And Darren said, but go on with my buddies, Ben and Woods. They would love to hear from you. And the Padres fans, they go to their show every single morning. So this is like Jeff's request to come on.
I love it.
And talk to you out there, whatever you're feeling about Mr. Passan. yeah, well, you can let him have it. I don't know if he's going to take calls, if he wants to do that, or just, wants to hear from you on social media, but we'll talk to him at 7:35. ESPN's MLB insider going to join us in the middle of this Padres-Dodgers series that is captivating the baseball world. So stay tuned for that. Sammy Levitt, who was up in L.A. with me, will join us at 8:35 postseason. Sammy, as always. Outside of that, I can't promise anything because we're just going to be talking baseball at this point.
I would be surprised if we mentioned anything else other than the series for the next
I would as well.
3.5 hours. Really,
and then
I don't want to.
4 tomorrow.
I don't want to.
If you were stuck listening to Joe Davis and John Smoltz yesterday and didn't get to hear Jesse and Tony, we got all of those calls coming up next in our Padres wrap-up. If you did hear them, you're going to want to hear them again and again and again and again. We will get into Game 2 last night in our Padres wrap-up next year with Ben and Woods on the Padres home in San Diego. 97.3 The Fan. So many key moments to the game last night. Jackson Merrill just continues to be incredible. For a 21-year-old kid on this kind of stage, coming up in large moments the way he has all season long. But I do think that the Profar catch, even though the Padres hit 6 home runs, I think the Profar catch was the defining moment of the game and the moment that really changed everything, even though they were already up 1-0 at the time. I assume Jesse's call of that is in there. It's a long call, obviously, because Jesse didn't know it was a home run right away. In fact, I think Tony Gwynn Jr. might have been the first to realize it. One of the first in the stadium, other than Profar and the 4 fans. Even the fans like in the third row didn't realize that it wasn't a home run. So we will get to all of those highlights coming up. Our Padres recap of Game 2 of the National League Division Series right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Ulta Beauty. Fire crews did a great job of putting out that brush fire. Mission Valley, guys. Eastbound 8 Mission Center has been reopened and no more lanes blocked. So just watch out for a little residual slowing eastbound 8 near Mission Center Road. In the North County, still have a few problems. Southbound 15 before the 78, crash in the center divide, and westbound side of the 78, cleared an accident right before the 15. We still got this other one, though, right before Civic Center that's been cleared out of lanes. The Emerald City came to Ulta Beauty with wicked collaborations from REM Beauty by Ariana Grande, IT brushes for Ulta, and Opie Hurrian. These fantabulous products won't last long. See Wicked November 22nd, only in theaters. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Oh, my God, I'm so stiff.
Miss any of the Padres win yesterday? Ben and Woods didn't.
What up, crew?
We've got you covered with all of the highlights.
I like it when the Padres win.
Yeah! Yeah! It's the Padres Wrap-Up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
Yeah! Give me a do damage.
Do damage!
The 0-1 pitch, Tatis launches that one in the air. Deep down the left field line, it is way back, and gone, a home run! Into the Dodger bullpen down the left field line. Fernando gets him again, and it's 1-0 here in the first. 1-0 Padres, bottom of the first. Mookie swings at the first pitch, sends it in the air to deep left field. Profar's going back, he is at the little wall, he will leap into the stands, and he can't make the catch. A home run. Profar had a shot, but he had to go into enemy territory. Did he end up catching it?
He did indeed.
Oh, my goodness. Profar did go into enemy territory, and he does make the catch.
Unreal.
And unbelievably, the Padre lead is still 1-0. Here's the 2-1. Peralta swings, sends it in the air to deep center field. Edmonds on the run, going back at the track, at the wall, and it's going to go! A 2-run homer for Peralta! Straight away center field. And the Pods have taken Flaherty out twice in the first 2 innings. They lead it 3-0. 1-2, hit in the air, left center field. Not that deep. Profar calling off Merrill. Should be deep enough to get Hernandez home. Bergson makes the catch, sends it into third base. It's a sacrifice fly for Gavin Lux. The Dodgers are on the board. It's 3-1 here in the second. Here's the 1-0. Hard hit on a line the other way. That's into left field and a base hit. Hernandez gets to it. Fernando's being waved. He's on his way home. He will score. And an RBI single for Jackson Merrill. Second knock of the night for the kid, and the Padres lead it 4-1. Hernandez swings, sends it in the air to straightaway center deep. Merrill's going back on the warning track. At the wall, leaps up, and he makes the catch. Merrill made the catch and then banged into the center field fence to end a 1-2-3-6th inning. Padres have been playing some defense here tonight, and Jackson Merrill going up to make the play to send us to the 7th. Pitch on the way. And Merrill swings, sends it in the air to left field and deep. Hernandez is going back. He is at the wall. This one, gonna go! Jackson Merrill's first career postseason home run. A 2-run shot here in the 8th. And it's 6-1 San Diego at Dodger Stadium.
This kid is special.
Padres have hit 3 home runs here tonight. Payoff pitch, and Bogart swings, sends one in the air to deep left field. He might have just hit another. Hernandez is back at the wall. This one is gonna go! Xander Bogaerts, bad leg and all. It's the 4th of the night for the Padres. They go back-to-back in the 8th, and it's 7-1. 1-0. Higashioka swings, sends one in the air, deep to left center field. Edman is back at the wall. He will leap. It's gonna go! Kyle Higashioka with another postseason home run. His 3rd in 4 games. The Padres with their 5th of the night, and it's 8-1. First pitch on the way. Fernando swings, sends it in the air to deep right center field. Edman is back. This time all he can do is watch. It's gonna go! Another home run! Padres with their 6th home run of the night. Fernando with his 2nd. It is 10-1 at Dodger Stadium. 2-2 to Gavin Lux, and a pitch swung on and missed. Strike 3. Alec Jacob puts the door closed for the Padres here in the bottom of the 9th inning. He strikes out Gavin Lux, and the Pods break out against Jack Flaherty and the Dodger bullpen as they win this game 10-2 and even the series at a game apiece.
We've been punching on the field all year, you know, and hostile environment. What I got out of it was a bunch of dudes that showed up in front of a big hostile crowd with stuff being thrown at them and said, we're going to talk with our play. We ain't going to back down. We're going to elevate our game. We're going to be together, and we're going to take care of business.
Wow. Great calls by Jesse Agler, who tweeted after the game the list of every Major League Baseball team in the history of the sport that have hit 6 home runs in a road playoff game. That list, the 2024 San Diego Padres, Game 2 of the National League Division Series at Dodger Stadium. First team ever to do that on the road. I think only 2 teams have ever done it at home, hitting 6 home runs in a postseason game, and it happened last night. It happened quickly. I was walking down after Jackson Merrill hit his opposite field shot. I realized, all right, it's time to get out of these stands. These fans are kind of ready to blow, and they're not happy. And so I started walking. I missed 2 home runs just on my way down from the top to the bottom of the stadium. But
anybody heckle you?
Well, you know, I was just wearing kind of nondescript clothes. I'm not in Padres, but I heard a lot of Dodgers fans talking. As I was in the stairwell walking down, I heard it go, another one? I thought the home run derby was supposed to be in July. I mean, they were stunned. They were stunned and shocked as they were walking out of that ballpark last night.
Yeah, sucks to suck, I guess. It was fun, though, because they were throwing things from the stands, and we were throwing things into the stands. Home run balls at a prodigious clip yesterday. Very, very nice to see.
Padres actually sent more things into the stands than the Dodgers fans threw out of the stands.
I disagree. I saw Sammy Levitt's shot of right field.
That's true. There was a lot that was coming down on right field.
It just remains pathetic and embarrassing. And listen, I got a couple Dodger fan friends on Twitter, and they're really good people. My friend Brian, I love Brian so much. He goes, bro, please don't lump me in. I go, you're an exception, right? I have a few friends, and they're normal, but that behavior last night was abnormal, and it can't happen. It can't happen in a playoff game. Can't happen in a regular season game. And a 12-minute delay where not one of those guys comes out to put a stop to any of it, is embarrassing. And I'm not surprised because that's how that organization is run.
How about Mike Schilt pulling a couple of strings, inserting David Peralta into his lineup to see if that could change things as a designated hitter option, and he comes through with that 2-run home run, a big little cushion there in the top of the second inning off of Jack Flaherty. Well, a little cushion, 3-0. Obviously, we learned in Game 1 is not a huge cushion, but it felt big at the time.
It would be like if you're sitting on a small chair,
right?
And you're like, God, my ass is killing me, my back hurts.
You got a big cushion.
Oh, it's a big little cushion right there. Perfect.
Yes.
I get it. Okay.
It's a big little cushion.
It's a big little cushion. I get it.
So Mike Schilt pulls that string and puts David Peralta into the lineup, which was turned out to be just what the Padres needed, and that of course pushes Luis Arraez to first base. And you're going, are they giving up anything defensively?
Paulie tells me in the dugout yesterday. Paulie reads me the lineup in the dugout. We're playing our playoff game yesterday for the Tier 1s, and he's reading the lineup, and I go, oh, Arraez at first. I'm like, oh, no. Guy was brilliant last. Looked like Don Mattingly,
incredible
dude.
plays. Had the line-out double play from Tommy Edman, which was
huge.
Maybe the biggest defensive moment of the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, it was Adam. He had to go up for it. Not as spectacular, obviously, as the Profar catch or the Tatis catch out in the outfield. But in terms of impact on the game, there's runners on base. That gets past him. That could be a huge inning for the Dodgers. They're right back into it. But the other play that he made was simply a sensational play by any first baseman. That's a goal. That would be a Gold Glove play. So Arraez coming through with his glove, something we haven't seen that often. Comes through with his bat all the time, but came through with his glove in the game yesterday as well. Both decisions, from Mike Schilt before that game yesterday.
Yu Darvish, my man.
So good to be back.
I don't know enough superlatives to talk about the job that man did yesterday. Controlling the tempo, making big pitches, getting Offertani a few times. He was brilliant. Brilliant. And exactly what you needed. Would I be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous about him, pitching in Dodger Stadium? I was absolutely mortified to watch him go out there and dice them up the way he did, get weak contact. Again, got picked up with some great defensive plays. Certainly, they did hit some balls hard off of him. They're very good. They're very good. They're the number one team in baseball. They're the best record, home field advantage throughout, 3 MVPs at the top of their order, a really, really good bottom of their order. They're a great baseball team. Yu Darvish neutralized them last night. Neutralized. And I can't say enough good things. We needed a split so badly in L.A., and Yu Darvish said, jump on. I got you guys. And he was brilliant. I kept waiting. I'm like, oh, man. And again, let's give some credit to Mike Schilt for the game he managed with Yu Darvish. Now, the offense certainly helped and gave him a little bit a big little cushion, as you called it. What's he at, 49 pitches through 5 or something? Like, he was just so economical. But how many times in the postseason do you see a manager go, well, I can't let him go back through again. There's just no way. We don't do it like this in the postseason. We gotta get to our bullpen. You being able to rest most of the high leverage arms last night, he deserves 2 wins. You know what I'm saying? He was that good last night. I love him so much. I'm so happy for him, so proud to be a fan of his. He was brilliant.
How about coming through after the long delay where he's sitting out there kind of getting cold. He's trying to throw warm-up pitches, but out of the rhythm of the game. And then, of course, does walk Teoscar Hernandez to lead off that inning. Full count. I mean, it was a battling at bat. I don't know if the delay impacted that or all, but that was the Dodgers' last best chance, of course, to get back into the game and then to respond by getting the next 3 batters in order to finish out his night after everything that had transpired, after all the emotion, the public address announcements to the fans. He stayed locked in through that entire period. And I don't know that you can ask, many pitchers in a playoff situation, but Yu Darvish is of that temperament and has that experience, kind of calmness about him, that he was just the right person to be on the mound for the San Diego Padres in that moment, in that game last night at Dodger Stadium.
It was so brilliant. And then Tanner Scott coming in. to just absolutely neutralize Ofurtani was brilliant.
I know we're going to go to break here in a second. You talked about Ohtani and his leadership on the mound and how his calmness. Darvish, sorry. and how he neutralized that moment and the Dodgers offense. We need to talk about the captain, Manny Machado.
100%.
That was one of the coolest things I've seen, him getting that team together in the dugout. I'll pay any amount of money for the audio if anyone's got it.
Yeah.
I know what you said about it in translation. Said, there's some bad words that were uttered. We will talk about Manny when we come back next year on 97.3 The Fan. Sometimes you wonder how much it's going to take for the national narrative to change about Manny Machado.
Yeah.
I've got to think that if anyone was paying attention last night and saw what he did for his team, with his team, in that dugout moment when he gathered them all together, something that you don't generally see in baseball.
You didn't hear the Rosenthal preamble to
I did
it.
not.
So the Rosenthal preamble was like, Manny Machado is much maligned, was dirty player, this, that, and the other, right? That's how he starts off this, it was like basically bread, meat, bread. He went meat, bread, meat, essentially. And was, talking a little smack and then said, this is a great moment. And then Joe Davis just goes like this. He goes, When they came back, he goes, And then it was, and Manny's this is not typical, but it kind of comes with the territory. It comes with the territory of being a highly paid player. You need to be a leader. It was very, very backhanded. It's just, it's never going to be, look what this guy does on a daily basis. Look how consistent his numbers are. Look how good he is defensively. And now look at what a leader he is. Playing with one arm, essentially. I mean, Freddie Freeman hurt his ankle, and you would have thought the guy just got back from Vietnam. Like, literally from Vietnam, purple heart. I've never seen anything like this. They called it, when he stole that base, Joe Davis called it, you missed this. They called it his Kirk Gibson moment. Ben, I was so incensed on Friday night, I was about to jump out the window.
Did they not say the same thing about Xander Bogaerts yesterday?
They did not say that,
right.
man. They did not say that.
Who was literally hobbling around the bases after a home run at Dodger Stadium?
Yes.
An actual Kirk Gibson moment.
Bro.
But okay.
So you get the backhanded thing from Rosenthal. Again, the narrative about Manny will always be the narrative. And we do see it amongst our own fan base as well sometimes. He's just been all you can do in life is just be better. Right? You don't have to be defined by the mistakes of your past. And can you be better today than you were yesterday? Manny is a perfect example of that. He is such a better leader than he was at 21 years old. Yes, you're right. At 21, that dude was intense. Him and the Josh Donaldson thing, intense. Intense. Him and Yordan Ventura, intense. Guy doesn't like getting thrown at. Now, he doesn't like his teammates getting thrown at. And he knew damn well, he has been around the game long enough to know damn well that Jack Flaherty, who had not missed like that all night, plunked Fernando Tatis Jr., who had hit a home run and, stared at it. He knew exactly what he was doing. Jack Flaherty knows he's about to get pulled out of the game. What does he care if he puts a guy on first base? He doesn't. So he absolutely knew, and he didn't like it. He took exception to it and told him.
I was sitting out in the left field bleachers, and I could even feel from that far away how badly Manny then, after Profar bunt singled, and Manny has a chance to come through and wanted, long at bat, working the count full.
Dude, you see the respect he gave? You probably couldn't see it. So it was a really good pitch by Flaherty on the outside corner. Might have been a hair low, and I mean a hair, and they called it a ball. And Smoltz was like, look, he's probably going to go out there again, and he probably is going to get Manny. And he did. And so Manny nodded. He just was like, okay, like, the ultimate sign of respect, like, you got me. And he walked back to the dugout, and then Flaherty starts jawing from the mound. And
you could read his lips pretty clearly. We can't say what.
I can. I'll say, go sit down, mother trucker, and essentially is what he said. And Manny was like, wait. Manny said he didn't even hear it, but everybody else heard it. Jackson Merrill then comes up off of Anthony Banda, hits that single, gets to first base, looks in the dugout, he goes, I got you. I was like, give me a break with this kid. He's 21 years old.
This is Jackson Merrill.
It was unbelievable.
I talked to Jackson in the clubhouse after the game, asked him about that moment. And, Manny so often is the guy who has got everybody else. When, something happens, he comes up. Think about Jurickson Profar and Jesse Winker, and then Manny comes up and hits the home run.
Keibert Ruiz,
Manny's always the guy. So it meant a lot to Jackson that he could be that guy in that moment to step up and pick up Manny, who doesn't need being picked up very often, but everyone's got everyone's back in that clubhouse, in that dugout, and you can certainly feel it with this team, that there is a camaraderie, there's a brotherhood that is is not always there in team sports. Didn't really feel it last year, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and it's not a guarantee that they're going all the way, but it certainly helps your cause in a postseason like this. When they're going to be tough moments. And I also want to say, because Manny's leadership has been, we're talking about that. I want to give Xander Bogaerts a lot of credit.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time. We were talking with him before the game, and he made the point and said, in the playoffs, you're going to suffer heartbreaking losses.
I love that
It's the
quote.
nature of the postseason, and it's how you bounce back and respond to them. No team, I believe, has ever, at least certainly in the wild card era, just gone through and won every postseason game. And pretty much every loss in the postseason feels devastating, feels like potentially this is it, this is the end of your season. You have to be able to then come back the next day and put that loss behind you. Even the best of teams, they're going to suffer a tough loss somewhere in the postseason. And Xander, with that playoff experience and the World Series rings, and one of the reasons he was signed by the Padres to come in is for playoff moments. And he's come in and he's performed in this postseason for the San Diego Padres. Yep. Really important leadership from Xander.
No question, man. And, just going back to the fact that, you can be together as you want. It doesn't guarantee you anything. It doesn't guarantee you wins and losses. One thing you can be assured of, though, and I think we kind of see that, the lack of quit in this team is just in them now. It's just ingrained in who they are. The fact that if they do lose, it won't be from a lack of effort. It won't be from them being selfish, right? You see that sometimes, trying to do too much, trying to have a big me moment instead of a big we moment. That's not going to happen with this team. I'm not saying they're going to run the table here or even get out of this series with a win. But it won't be from a lack of effort. It will not be from anything other than they got beat on a baseball field. That's it, which happens to the greatest teams of all time. But they are an inspiring bunch, certainly. And you saw that move last night, Paulie. I'm glad you brought it up, bringing them together and telling them to stay focused. And then, listen, man, 2 quick outs in that inning, and then Manny comes up, the single, then the home run. We're off and running. There's the ball game right there. So really important moment last night in a series of important moments. So many guys stepped up. Jackson Merrill, Yu Darvish, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Kyle Higashioka, and on we go. Jurickson Profar, Fernando Tatis Jr. twice. Ridiculous night.
I'm glad you brought up that single in the 8th inning, because after the 2 quick outs, there was a sense of Dodgers fans stirring again. Like, okay, we get Manny out here. We're still in this game. Our big boys are gonna have one more shot probably coming up. If we get either of those guys on in the 8th inning, Ohtani's gonna come up, maybe with a chance to tie the game if they're both on. And they started a Manny sucks chant.
Yeah.
And just like it was just starting to gain some traction. And then he just ropes a single to center. And then it got quiet again. And then Jackson Merrill hit the home run. And that's when they really started streaming for the exits. At that point, it was a huge moment. Don't kid yourself. If that's a 3-run game going into the bottom of the 8th inning, the Dodgers feel like we still have a really good chance. Once Jackson made it 6-1, they knew at that point it would take something historic for them to come back, and they didn't have it in them last night. And then, of course, the Padres just piled on with the Xander home run, with the Higashioka home run. What about Kyle?
He's been incredible.
I talked to him after the game as well. Just locked in right now.
What was his heartbeat? 80, 81?
I'm not even 69? Sure if he was actually alive when I talked to him.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Excited.
I love him so much.
I do too. It's good.
So happy for him.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm actually brimming with excitement right now, this very moment.
This is the greatest moment of my life.
You know what? I'm kind of glad there's someone like that on the team. There's plenty of fiery, passionate players.
Yeah.
Kyle is the steady Eddie of the group.
Love
and
it, man.
If you're going to pick a steady Eddie, catcher is probably the place where you want your steady Eddie to be. Not your hot-headed Keibert Ruiz behind the plate, but have your steady Eddie back there, and that's what Kyle Higashioka has been.
Well, and just remember this, man. As great as it was last night, it's over, right? That moment is over. You can use that emotion certainly in the next game. You're not going to need it. You're going to have 47,000 Padres fans going absolutely buck wild tomorrow night and doing it the right way. That's my hope, at least, is we handle ourselves with a little bit more dignity and don't do anything dumb. And I'll have an address. I've written a State of the Union at 8 that I will read for Padres fans out there this morning.
Do not stoop down to their level.
Yeah, that's
please.
exactly right, man. So I think it's over. You got that win. You got that split you needed. You got to refocus, figure it out. I loved what Manny did because it did make them refocus and say, hey, man, this was gnarly and it was exciting and everything else, but you can't let it spin you out. If you lose focus in the playoffs, you're toast. And they did not. They actually regathered their focus and took it to them.
Also want to quickly mention, because I saw them both in the clubhouse after the game, Ha-Seong Kim and Joe Musgrove, who neither of whom are going to get to appear anymore in this postseason for the San Diego Padres.
Joe this morning.
Yeah, I mean, since we were last on in the morning on Friday, it was later in that day that we found out the official news that Joe is getting Tommy John surgery, won't be returning, won't be able to see Joe next year likely as well. But of course, he is right there with his guys, and doing what Joe does with his leadership as well. And Ha-Seong Kim, who was out there pregame, he's out at first base. I mean, he's taking throws from everybody, trying to be as much a part of this as he possibly can. Those are two guys who have been integral parts of the team for the last, 4 seasons plus, that are there. They can't play, but they're not going anywhere. And they're still as much a part of this as anybody else, and you don't want to take anything away from either of those guys and what they've done.
No doubt.
All right, we're just going to skip. No take on Woods today. We got a prize to give away. We actually have some Sublime tickets that we'll give away later in the program, but we're not going to play our game. We've got plenty more to get to. Now, Don't Do This is next, and I would like to hear, because I couldn't hear any of the TV broadcast when I was at Dodger Stadium of either of the two games. Saw your comments out there, Padres fans.
I can't tell if you're lucky or missed out.
Yeah, I can't either. And I had 1 million people.
I want to get your thoughts, though, Woods and Paul, on what it sounded like listening to the TV broadcast.
I can tell you what it sounded like, but I think we'd get kicked off the air.
Yeah, I had 1 million people screaming at me, just sync your radio. And I said, I can't. After what happened 3 minutes into the game, I go, well, good job, Joe Davis. You got me.
Well, I know Jesse and Tony are doing a great job, but I think in your role, it's important for you to hear what the other people are saying.
I also can't decide if I wish I didn't, or if I'm glad I did, or I wish I didn't. It may be a little of both.
It feels like Don't Do This is the right place to address that. So let's get to that coming up next, right after Kelly's Traffic. More with Ben and Woods on the home of the Padres, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, here we go. Black 17 on. That is lined up. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
All right, here we go. Black 17 on. That is lined up. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino.
Don't Do This, also known as the segment in which we discuss the television broadcast of the Padres-Dodgers series and their announcers on Fox, Joe Davis and John Smoltz. And again, I did not get to hear really a second of it. I saw Smoltz yesterday briefly as I walked in. No one in. Does anyone like John Smoltz really? He must have some friends in baseball, but all I see
Maybe
is
in Atlanta.
I see negative comments.
Atlanta. I bet Adam loves it.
Incessantly.
Adam's not going to like this segment.
He's not.
I do think, I know what you've said about Joe in the past. Kind of boring. I think if he was just calling a random, a Twins against Brewers game, he'd do a fine job.
Yeah,
very competent broadcaster.
It's like I said on Friday. It's not a Dodger thing with him.
Right.
I've never really enjoyed pukers. And pukers. He's a puker. A puker is the guy that talks like this with an effect on his voice, and he does it like this. I like broadcasters that sound real. And
Uncle Teddy was as real as it gets. Jesse's
man.
very real when it comes to that. But there's a lot of baseball, that style exists. I listen to some of the other games on the radio, and there are a lot of announcers who are like that. 2-2 pitch coming in. It's kind of, you hear Vin Scully growing up, and he did it well, but no one can really be Vin Scully anymore.
Well, that's the thing is everyone, and just be yourself, and I know that Joe Davis doesn't talk like that when he's at home. He's not talking to his kids to get your shoes tied and get in the car, and we are off to school. That's not how you talk.
Now I want to do that.
Adam's in our chat. I have a picture of me in second grade getting John Smoltz's autograph.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Now, again, I couldn't have admired a guy's pitching career more than I did John Smoltz. He was a bulldog. And then how great was John Smoltz later? He goes to another team, and he's like, you need me to close? All right, I'll close. I mean, badass. He's a badass MFer, dude. He gets on these broadcasts, though, and you're like, why do you hate the game that you're calling so much? Why is it so much better back in your day? And but, for me, Benny, it started and stopped. Should we have a little bit of grace towards Joe Davis? Because, again,
I do feel like they put him in an impossible situation.
He's in an impossible situation.
Just like I think Don would be in an impossible situation if they asked him to call a Padres playoff game, but told him, but don't show any bias toward the Padres.
Right, play it down the middle. How can you
not?
But
I work for the Padres.
Right.
I travel with them. I know these guys. How can you take out that inherent bias? It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's like asking us to go down the middle on something like that. There's just no way, man. There's no way. So I guess I have a bit of grace for him there, but holy crap, man. It was like he had a list of narratives, excuses, all of it. So right when the game starts, Manny hits the 3-run bomb, and he sounds devastated. I mean, it was like, in comparison to the Shohei homer that you'll hear is insane.
So here's Manny Machado.
A 1-2 from Yamamoto. Got a fastball over the plate. Lifted it to deep left center field, and it is gone. Manny Machado with a 2-run home run. And the Padres with 3 in the first.
Now, I actually don't know that you would get a lot of criticism from that
in a vacuum.
The next play not happened.
Exist.
That was a fine call for a national broadcast. Then Ohtani ties the game later, and strap in.
2-1. There's a drive. It's a bullet. Was there any doubt? Shohei Ohtani arrives in October with a 3-run home run.
The other one for me is when he hit a broken bat flare to center field. He can do no wrong.
Did he literally say that?
Oh yeah. That's
Adrian Morejon destroyed his bat.
Destroyed it. It's a great pitch.
That's called getting lucky.
Well, and Merrill, you have to play on the wall because it's Shohei Ohtani. You're playing as deep as you can get. I mean, he broke his bat, flared it in the center. It was just like, oh my God. Freddie Freeman, again, made the point earlier, Ben. I know he's got a rough ankle. He came out and started stroking balls all over the field. I thought, I was like, is this guy even hurt? I mean, it was ridiculous. He was playing so well. He's such a good player. Then when he had the steal and he said that's his Kirk Gibson moment, it was just constant. And it didn't stop the entire night, man. The entire night. It was third inning stolen base, down 2 runs in game 1 of the NLDS. And he's saying it was his Kirk Gibson moment. He, 2/3 of an inning into the first, he said the Dodgers are underdogs. He said it again last night.
I called that one.
I called it.
I called it too.
We
both called it. And it's still silly.
2/3 of one effing inning is what I tweeted, the underdog bit. Again, then Shohei comes up, hits the bomb, and I said, this is why you can never be considered an underdog. You have the best player on the planet. It was, there's Adam with John Smoltz. Which one's Adam?
I'm guessing he's the one in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's him in the middle.
I've never seen him with hair. The one picture I've seen him with hair.
Is that Adam's little brother that John Smoltz is holding?
Look at John Smoltz's Cosby sweater that he's wearing. It is so bad, dude. Oh my, a Cosby sweater. So it was pretty gnarly. And then, this is not his fault. You didn't see the graphic. The graphic. Shohei Ohtani
I heard
will hit
people talking about it,
in
though.
8 more batters. He will be coming up in 8 more
He's got
batters.
it up on our screen.
The graphic.
3 batters away, Shohei Ohtani.
Massive. Like, huge graphic.
Taking
I'm like,
up the whole
what
right
is
side of
going
the screen?
on here, man? So, anyway, dude, it was pretty gnarly. Now, I will say this. My buddy, who's a Dodger fan, texted me, goes, you got to admit, he's playing it a little bit more down the middle tonight. I said, yeah, he is. But you'll hear kind of these subtle little digs. He did a whole bit on Tatis and, all the things he's done to himself. And it's never just celebration of a great player. It is always something to the effect, a little bit of a backhanded dig. But again, man, like Jeff Passan told us on Twitter, if you don't want to be a little brother, don't act like a little brother, which was great. I thought of Jeff Passan. I was going to tweet at him, and I go, no, I respect Jeff Passan too much, but he'll be on this show in 3 minutes or like 5 minutes.
And if you have anything to say to Jeff, you can do so in our YouTube stream chat or by tweeting us at Ben and Woods. We are going to convey some of those messages to Jeff when he joins us, and he is ready for it. He is willing to hear it from Padres fans this morning. That's why he's coming on.
The other thing I thought about Smoltz, and I tweeted this as well. Our guys do such a good job of letting the game breathe sometimes. There is no breath. It feels like he did a huge rail of crystal meth right before the game, and he's just like, relax, let it eat a little bit. You're calling it on TV. You're not on radio, right, Benny? The TV is the star. You're watching the stars and every pitch, every grip, every ball in the dirt, every way the catcher's framing it, every swing. Let it breathe just a little bit. Does that make sense?
It does. What did he say about Yamamoto's struggles early? Because he certainly looked, that first inning with all the balls in the dirt and everything, and obviously the Dodgers came back and did win game 1, but they're starting pitching. And those were their 2, more reliable starters that they threw in the first 2 games, Yamamoto and Flaherty. Now they're digging more into, the hope zone of their rotation with a Buehler, who has not been Buehler, coming back, and Landon Knack possibly in game 4. That's the guys that they were more worried about. And even the guys that they felt better about did not perform well on the big stage in the first 2 games of the series.
Albert says, come on, Woods, you critiquing another broadcaster. Buddy, I'm not calling play-by-play. I'm not calling play-by-play. By the way, I wouldn't do it with a gun to my head. I'm terrible at it.
It's part of our job to do that as well.
I am the first one to tell you.
And I will say, we'll see. Sometimes, the home crowd can influence the excitement of a broadcaster. I would hope, though, that'll be turned on its ear at Petco Park, and the big moments for the Padres will be the ones that are screamed, and the big moments for the Dodgers will be called a little more down the middle. I suspect that won't necessarily be the case, but I guess we'll find out. And that is Don't Do This for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we've got Jeff Passan, who is going to join us, ESPN's legendary MLB insider. His request, he wants to talk to you, Padres fans.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wants to talk Clippers basketball.
That's
with
possibly as
basketball
well.
Woods.
New NBA insider, perhaps, Jeff Passan. Coming up next, don't go anywhere on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, Woods, I want to get right to our special guest.
Very special guest.
Very special guest, because honestly, he's the reason why I've got to be an ESPN Plus subscriber.
Yeah.
I'd be so sad if I clicked on one of his pieces and all of a sudden I get like 3 paragraphs and then it goes, click here to subscribe. So I have to get his stuff. He actually has a free unlocked piece this morning on yesterday's walk-off winner for Nick Castellanos, and you can read it at ESPN.com. He is obviously the #1 insider in baseball. Of course, I'm talking about ESPN's Jeff Passan, who is joining us right now here on Ben & Woods in San Diego. Jeff, good morning. It is great to have you on the program.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you buttering me up before taking me out at the knees. This is gonna be fun.
I'm almost uncomfortable with some of these comments that we've collected for you. I don't know how we can even repeat them, so
I'll start.
Oh, I hope you get. I first need to thank Darren Smith for making
100%
this connection. Darren is the man, and while I did not go on with him often, and I'm sorry, Marty Caswell, for saying no as many times as I did, I always enjoy talking baseball with him because he knows the game, and we could have like what I thought were really intelligent conversations about baseball and where it is and where it's going and how it all ties back to San Diego. And trust me, there will be a lot of San Diego love, at least from my end, coming out in this conversation.
Well, I've got just one question. It's right from our YouTube chat, Jeff. The question is, Jeff, how dare you? How dare you? Your tweet on Friday night about Saturday night about little brother. And what did you say? If you don't want to be treated like a little brother, don't act like one. And I saw it. I was all over Twitter that night. I ignored it. I ignored you. That's how much I respect it. I said, I'm not even going to wade in. I love Jeff Passan too much to do it. So explain yourself.
There's no explanation necessary. It's just the truth. And here's the problem, guys. Here's the problem. This team is not a little brother.
Right.
Of what I have seen so far this postseason, I think the Padres are the best team left, actually. They have Michael King, and they have Yu Darvish, and they have Dylan Cease, and even without Musgrove, they have more pitching than Cleveland and Detroit. Let me go over the teams here. Probably more than the Mets, probably more than the Yankees, maybe more than the Royals, not quite with the Phillies, and absolutely more than the Dodgers. As we saw with their lineup last night, they hit 6 home runs in a playoff game. They have stars at the top and guys who are going to be stars in the middle, and a catcher who's a 9-hitter and has 3 home runs in 4 games. They can catch the ball. They are managed well. They're a really, really good team that is the epitome of not little brother. I think beyond that, and is it okay if I go on like a little bit of a soapbox here?
Absolutely, yes. And then I'm going to retort, but go ahead.
All right. I wanted to talk to San Diego because I want to like further illustrate what I'm talking about. And I think what has made this rhetoric frustrating on my end is that I genuinely do not think of the fans that way either. Now, I haven't been to Petco since the Revolution. I don't know if you guys read Alvin Gonzalez. If you don't, you should.
We do.
He's really good.
Saw him yesterday.
He
Yep.
covers the National League West. He writes great stories. He's phenomenal. What I've seen, though, and what I've been told by people who go there, is that outside of Citizens Bank Park, and maybe inclusive of, Petco Park is the best environment in baseball right now. And that, to me, illustrates that this team and these fans have gone through a wonderful evolution and grown this fan base and become the team of a city that I genuinely love. And that's the truth. I got married in La Jolla. I have no connection to San Diego other than I am a carpetbagger for like good weather and good restaurants and good vibes. And when I like a city, I wish it well, because I grew up in Cleveland, guys. I know what it's like to not have any championships. It's the worst. And what you do as a sporting fan in a city when you haven't won championships is you start looking at your teams like they're precious things, because they are. And when we have precious things, we do everything we can to defend them. And when what's special to us personally is out there, like, we have to recognize it may not be the same to everyone. And my job, right, like, my job is trying to figure out what interests the largest percentage of the baseball watching population. And as much as I try, and truth be told, I probably try too hard, I cannot be everything to everyone. You guys have really good and diligent reporters in Dennis Lynn and Kevin Acey and AJ Cassavell. And you have shows like this that treat the Padres like what they should be, a team that can carry sports talk radio conversation. And at the end of the day, guys, here's what you have over everyone, and I mean like everyone else at this point. San Diego is a baseball town. There are not a lot of baseball towns left. Like, St. Louis is a baseball town. I think New York maybe, Chicago maybe, Boston maybe, Cincinnati maybe. San Diego is undoubtedly a baseball town, and that right there should be enough to understand that all of these things others have called you in the past, that they don't apply now, so stop acting like it.
Sure. That's well said, man. And I'm talking to Jeff Passan here on Ben and Woods, and I'll retort just a little bit. I think, that didn't bother me. Like, you admiring Shohei Ohtani and his home run did not bother me at all. When I think the national media perpetuates, which you kind of did, the little brother narrative, it definitely stings. And I think, turnabout being fair play, we have more success in the postseason than the recent Dodgers do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've taken it to them, and I think what we don't see a lot of is that same sentiment about the Dodgers and their failures in the postseason on a national level. We hear a lot about the Padres. We don't see a lot. All we hear in our Fairburg is, oh my God, what a move. Oh my God, Andrew Friedman. Oh my God, every move they make is so good. They haven't had a postseason starter go more than 5 innings since last night for like 16 starts in a row. Mookie Betts hasn't had a hit in 3 years or something. And all we hear is how great they are, how special they are. They choke. They choke. They're chokers. No one says it. Nobody. You don't, Jesse Rogers doesn't. Nobody says it. Everybody just talks about Andrew Friedman, how brilliant he is, Dave Roberts, how great he is. Nothing. And I think that's what kind of bugs us too. Like, if you're going to get us and you're going to bang us with little brother, you got to get them a little bit too. That's kind of all we're asking for, which may be a little bit of a little brother thing.
Listen to what you're doing now, though. Like, listen to what you're saying.
Sure.
You're saying the same thing that caused me to go on this in the first place, right? You are. It's just like, if you're gonna you gotta them. Like, I'm gonna take you through my thought process before I typed out the words "little brother," because I should have acknowledged that that's pretty loaded, Jeff. Like, if you're going to drop that nuke, like, you better have earned it, and you better be careful with it. And I probably was not as much as I should have. But here's why it got me. Because it reminded me of my son. And I love him so much. I do. I have a 17-year-old son, and I have a 12-year-old son. And when my 17-year-old son does something or gets to do something that the 12-year-old doesn't, the 12-year-old still says, but why?
Right.
And any sentence that starts with but why is a sentence that I don't want to hear finished, because I know it's going to be asking for equal time in equal ways. And I personally, like, you guys can sit here and call the Dodgers chokers all you want. I have too much respect for how difficult October baseball is to call anybody a choker, especially when you have teams that like change as much as they do year over year. Like, the Dodgers are not comprised of the same people they were 2 years ago, let alone 5, let alone all these division titles that they haven't won. I will look at it and say that it has been an absolute failure by them to win championships.
Yeah, who's done less with more? Who's done less with more than them?
The New York Yankees.
With more?
Well,
yeah, when we're talking payroll, the Yankees have been there. Who's done less with more talent-wise? Yeah, I think that's probably fair, actually. And that's reasonable. Like, so here's how I would like San Diego fans to look at this, because despite what you see on Twitter, like, I think I am a pretty positive and optimistic and thoughtful person.
You are.
And going back to like how we want the world to see things that we hold dear, when someone comes in and says something that's like rude, sorry guys, but it may have a kernel of truth.
Right.
It kind of digs under your skin.
Of course.
Here's the kernel, right? Your team is not the little brother. Your fan base is not the little brother. But the segment of people who are looking for equal time with the Dodgers are exhibiting some little brother behavior there. And this will be hard to hear, but I screw it. I do that. The Dodgers guys have decades of history. They have Jackie Robinson. They have Sandy Koufax. They have the Duke. They have Drysdale and Fernando, and yes, even Kershaw. They have 6 World Series rings. The general interest in the Dodgers exceeds that of the Padres for now. In the same vein, like, Ohtani's the biggest baseball star in the world. I'm going to post about him a lot, and I'm going to do the same with Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt and Jackson Merrill, who, like, by the way, I've addressed his awesomeness multiple times this season. And if Tatis keeps playing this way and the Padres have compelling games in advance and like make a deep run, I promise you that they will get the coverage and compliments that they have earned. And it's in the meantime, though, and this is where I wanted to get ultimately, you guys need to relish this.
We are.
There's something really wonderful going on in your town right now. And if others are not recognizing that to the level that they should, they're the ones who are missing out. Remember, if the Padres become like the national sensation, then your little secret, this thing that you obsess over day after day, will be different. And that's good, right? Like that's what you want. That's what you want for the players, for the team, for the city, like the love and recognition you believe they deserve. It is akin to the band that you knew before it blew up.
Of course.
When it goes big, you're happy that others got to hear them, but you're also proudest that you knew them before anyone else did.
Jeff, I want to add one thing. We got Jeff Passan on from ESPN, and I'm a lifelong San Diegan, and I understand. You explain that very well where you're coming from. What I kind of want to push back on is that so many people in the national media look at San Diego and L.A., and they think Southern California, that you're in the same family. They're not. Forget geography.
I know.
San Diego and Los Angeles are worlds apart. I felt it just, driving back and forth from the games this weekend. It's just a different culture. It's as different as Boston and New York, maybe even more different. Honestly, you couldn't have two more different markets in baseball. They just happen to be near each other, but we're not related. We're not brothers. Yeah, the Dodgers have had more resources, more success in their history. In that sense, they are more accomplished than the Padres. So, yes, the Padres have a lot of ground to make up on the Dodgers, but we're not in the same family. At all.
Yeah.
At all. And I think people outside of Southern California don't realize that we're not this one big community. When the Chargers left San Diego for Los Angeles, it wasn't, they're just going a few miles away. People love that. No, that would be like the Boston Red Sox moving to New York.
Yeah.
New York. No one would cheer for them anymore. It would be the biggest story in the history of sports if that happened. And no one seems to understand that outside of our particular region, I feel.
I think that's reasonable, and I think that geography plays a big part in that. When you're ignorant about a culture and an area, you tend to think that. Well, I mean, guys, I live in Kansas, so you want to talk about the willingness and ability to stereotype. I do not live on a farm. It's like that. But
you don't love corn in every single meal you eat.
No, I don't love corn. No, corn is too much corn. But I think a large segment of the population looks at California as one gigantic woke liberal entity. Right? That is how California has been painted. So what difference is there between San Diego and Los Angeles? I can't sit here and suggest that the ignorance of people is anything that I would ever be interested in spending my time trying to discern.
Sure.
That's what this all goes back to. It is, you guys have something great right now. So who gives a damn about anyone or anything else? It's I think the people of San Diego have an opportunity right now. You are going to have a primetime national television audience to sell Petco Park as being the best place to watch a baseball game in the world right now. I remember, over the past few years, seeing Citizens Bank Park become this. And that happened because of two things. The atmosphere there that you could see and you could almost feel, and a lack of incidents. What happened last night at Dodger Stadium was abhorrent.
Yeah.
And I don't care if Fernando Tatis is dancing or Jerickson Profar is tossing the ball into the stands, whatever dumb excuse you want to make up. You don't throw anything at players. It is loser behavior. And I worry about the Dodgers fan base being looked at as losers because the actions of few. That's what San Diegans need to avoid. Every group has its insecurities.
Oh,
but
of course.
The best thing you can do as fans is be loud the entire game. Do not take pitches off. Do not fight. Do not throw things. Yell all you want. Keep it clean. Be clever. Act like you've been there before and show the world that you have arrived, because you, as a fan base in San Diego, have earned the respect of everyone around the game for growing the way that you have.
That's really well said, and yeah, throwing stuff on the field and all that, that's truly little brother behavior. Little brother behavior.
It is. That is the truth. That is. Hell yes, absolutely.
You're the man, dude. Thank you for coming on with us.
You're still getting roasted in our chat. Do you want some of these comments before you go?
Do I want it? I mean, listen, the one with me standing on the box yesterday, trust me,
that's your soapbox, right? Yeah.
I mean, listen, I will go after people, but what I got. We
have very clever listeners. We call them our tier ones. They're not all short jokes. Joey says Jeff Passan always looks low-key wet. I don't know if that's just your hair product or what's going on there.
Used to be more than that, but I've learned the beauty of the blow dryer lately. So I'm not coming in quite as wet as I used to.
Jeff's been reading the headlines, or Jay has been reading the headlines. He says, "Hey Jeff, Shams would never diss Padres fans."
Oh, no! All right, you're staying in major.
We can't lose you.
As mad as I was, I very much want you to stay in Major League Baseball. Very much. Just so you know, get that on record.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For the record, 5'9", not a big guy. My 6'1" son, when he's feeling himself and when I ask him to do something like take out the trash, will stand over me.
Oh my God.
Look down and just say 5'9" and walk away. So trust me, guys, whatever you say to me, it cannot be as hurtful as your child emasculating you about your height. I am immune to everything else. So send your best at me. It will not be worse than that. And before I go, guys, Jesse Agler, the incorporator, defenestrate.
I love that one.
We've done it.
We may have done that one. Yes, we have. We've exhausted the English language for Jesse, and he nails it every time.
Okay. I have backups.
Okay.
Promulant.
Okay, the fake Simpsons word. I love that one. That's a good one. We haven't done that one yet.
I like onomatopoeia. Could we do boing?
Boing. That's a great one. How about that? Boing.
All right,
Jeff. Thank you so much.
And then one in honor of the San Diego fan who originally came at me, nincompoop.
Nincompoop. Thank you. You're the man.
All
dude.
in the
Thanks
rotation
for coming
now.
On.
Jeff, appreciate it.
We did do defenestration.
Oh, you want defenestration? Paul's got it for you.
I've got it. If you want to hear it,
yeah,
Jeff.
quick.
Yeah, check it quickly.
Please.
Philadelphia, of course, a beautiful and historic city, particularly when it comes to American history. It is Election Day here today. And politics in this state very much a gloves-off kind of blood sport, as I guess it always has been. 1-2, reach for, poked up the middle to his left. The shortstop Stott has it, bobbles it, loses it, and Hosmer will reach to start the inning. Another one that could go either way in terms of infield hit or error, and it will be an infield single for Eric Hosmer. Leadoff man aboard for the Padres in the 8th inning. And while it's not quite maybe the way it was in the 18th century here with the defenestration of the British and the tarring and the feathering and all of that, but they still take it very, very seriously.
He's a legend. Thank you, man.
So good.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
Can we have you on again at some point?
Hell yeah.
All right.
As long as you stay out of the NBA.
Way to pressure him.
No one here cares about the NBA.
Yeah, we do.
Just so you know.
You do.
I mean,
we know you do.
I love the G League. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it very much.
Jeff Passan, ESPN MLB insider and legendary guest this morning on Ben and Woods.
I loved that.
We went a little over our allotted time. Apologize to the powers that be, but we will come back. Woodsy's got his State of the Union in light of what has transpired over the weekend in Los Angeles and with the National League Division Series coming to San Diego tomorrow. You need to hear what Woodsy has to say. That is coming up next. Don't go away. Ben and Woods continuing on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Halfway home on a Monday. Big victory Monday here on Ben and Woods 97.3 The Fan. Our YouTube chat has just gone ham. I mean, just ham. If we got paid by the comment, we could retire today. I'm not kidding. If we got $1 for every comment, we are whacking up between us like $300,000 today. It's been insane. Thank you guys for being here. I knew you would this morning. I knew it. I felt it driving in. I felt it at 2:30 in the morning when I woke up and started immediately running mouth on Twitter. 2:30. I was up. I could not sleep. I was so fired up to come in and do this show today, and that's for all of you guys out there. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, who was in Dodger Stadium the last couple days. I want to hear more about your trip. Like, was it? So you drove up when?
So we left, like 6 hours before the game on Saturday.
Okay.
So
who's we?
So it's me and Jimmy DeDios, who is one of our 10 News photographers, photojournalists.
Who drove?
He drove.
He drove, you.
And then we had John Hall, who was one of our engineers to run the satellite uplink.
Okay.
While we were up there. So it was the three of us and a minivan full of gear.
Okay.
That's loaded to the gills.
Is it a Channel 10?
Channel 10
okay.
minivan, white minivan with
Where did
Channel
you
10
sit?
logo on
Front
the side.
seat?
I did sit
Shotgun?
in the front seat.
Okay.
Yeah, they picked me up on the way up.
And then he got in the back.
And then he moved, and
Wow.
John moved to the back, and I moved to the front.
I can't see too well. Is that Elton John over here? Holy smokes.
I navigated, though. I was in charge of getting us to Dodger Stadium.
I bet you did. I
to
bet
the proper
you navigated.
entrance. I had all the credentials, the
God.
parking, and everything. So I kind of needed to be in a position of some authority in the front.
Now,
I
Paulie,
think.
great job getting all that coordinated with Jeff Passan. Why Jimmy isn't on the phone with us right now so we could interview him is beyond me. We dropped the ball there. I would ask Jimmy if we had him. Jimmy, over or under 15 restaurants or businesses pointed out along the drive, and Jimmy would scream, "Oh, over,
for sure."
I mean,
without a doubt.
Oh, look at that, Dutch Brothers. Oh, nice. Oh, Dutch.
I will say, Jimmy and John, who did a great job, were
In
not
and out.
that food oriented. I kept wanting them to.
Mickey
Hey, let's go get something to
D.
eat. And there go. John's like, I brought some food with me. And I mean,
You're in the chamber.
So I felt bad because the Dodgers would only give us 2 credentials. So John had to sit out in the van
You
for both of the
are
games.
effing kidding
The
me. John,
entire-
I am so sorry.
The entire 2 days spent in the Dodger Stadium parking lot. I would like just quit and die if I had to do that. But he did it with a smile. He brought his own snacks and water and sat out there while we were inside for like the game on Saturday. I know the game time said 3 hours and 36
No
minutes.
chance.
Felt like
6
a
hours.
9-hour baseball game on Saturday. And I'm going like, John is just sitting out there in the parking lot waiting for us to come out, because then when we came out, he set up and we did the live shots and the satellite hookup and everything and went back live. I had the company credit card, so I had to pay for all the hotels and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we stayed in the lovely the Holiday Inn and Suites in Glendale, California. Wasn't the most luxurious place, but it was fairly new and it served its purpose. It was only about 10 minutes from the ballpark. So, got up in the morning and then we went back to Dodger Stadium. I said, we got some time to kill. I mean, the game's not until 5 and it's like 10:30 in the morning. Went to like a sports bar that was just down the street and just had the football on for a couple of, there's no baseball even on until like 1 o'clock. So we were just kind of killing some time in the morning before we went out there. But they did a great job. And it was good. It was good to be there. As I told Jeff Passan, and again, what a great interview. I still see some mixed results. Some people are going, oh, now I love Jeff Passan. Some are still like, still don't like that guy. But for him to come on, I thought was pretty incredible this morning. And he knows. I mean, don't think that Jeff Passan doesn't get it. He does get it. He understands. You may disagree with him on certain things, but the man understands baseball and kind of the culture and the teams of baseball and the sport as well as anybody who works in the national media. I think that's a fair statement about Jeff Passan. So anyway, yeah, we had a good time, but it's a definitely different environment up in Los Angeles. As I was saying to Jeff, you go to a game there, people dress differently, they act differently, and that's true in other places as well. But they don't get painted with that brush. You don't expect Minneapolis and Miami to be the same. You expect it to be very different. But people somehow expect San Diego and Los Angeles maybe, it's kind of just a tiny difference. No, it's as massive of a difference as you can kind of imagine. I felt like I was in a foreign country almost when you're in Dodger Stadium. It's just different the way people behave and act, and it's them. That's what they do. It's all about the celebrities and the people on the jumbotron, and they get into it. I'm not saying that Dodgers fans don't like their team and don't want to support their team, but it's just different than it is here in San Diego.
Yeah, and I think my overarching point, I didn't mean it to come off like, well, you need to write, mean articles as well. It's more of like, hey, man, when you feed into that, you're telling us out of one side of your mouth that we shouldn't act like little brother, and then you call us little brother, right? And when you perpetuate that myth, that's kind of a tough look for you, and certainly is going to ruffle the feathers of some Padres fans out there. And again, my point being is like, hey man, like we've kind of proven that we're not little brother. You should write about that instead of all these great moves and the brilliance of that organization and all of that. I mean, it guarantees us nothing. It's one win last night. I'm not going to come in here this morning and think the Dodgers are out of it. They're not. They're a great team. That's why they won more games than anybody else. That's why they have home field advantage throughout. They're a really good team. They have been for a while. But when October comes around, it's been a little bit of the frost off the pumpkin, if you will.
So Tony wants me to describe examples of how it's different.
Yeah.
And I have not shared this story. So as I am, Jackson Merrill hits the home run, and I walk from left field, and I'm starting to make my way through the concourse back to the clubhouse and the stairs and the elevator, and Dodger fans are all leaving. And as I start walking out, there's this circle gathered around. I don't know what's going on. There's a woman who is down kind of on one hand, and she is
I've seen this movie before.
She's twerking in the air, and then her friend is filming it for social media. There's a security guard there as well. He's not stopping it at all. He's just kind of watching, just seeing what's transpiring. And it was amazing how normal it felt like as you're walking by. Like this, no one seems even remotely like flustered by the fact that this is just going on in the middle of the concourse as people are walking out. That someone twerking on social media is just something we do here at Dodger Stadium. I've never seen that at Petco Park, not once ever.
I saw some boobs at Petco Park once. Remember that girl? She was a Giants fan. Yeah, I hope she's doing well wherever she is. I hope she's having a fantastic day. Man, what a great story. Didn't you also hear someone say Dodgers in 6?
No, someone else. Adam, I think, had that one.
Oh, it was
right?
Adam.
It was Adam's friend who said, Dodgers in 6.
Not Adam's friend. Somebody he overheard a Dodger fan say Dodger. It's a 5-game series. So, but yeah. So it's been a fun show. But I do have an important announcement this morning as the president of Ben & Woods. It's why I dressed like the skipper.
You are. That's the first thing I said when I saw you this morning. I go, you look like Mike Schilt.
Well, I'm also a skipper. So I wanted to dress the part this morning. And I wore this to our Tier 1 game yesterday. Shout out to the Tier 1s. Won another championship yesterday. Paulie's got the trophy. Did you see what happened to the trophy?
No. What happened to your trophy?
After we won last night, of course, we all went out and celebrated, and everyone wanted to get their hands on it and broke it. No, it fell out of my car this morning. So there it is. Champs. All right, Paulie, if you would, please, address the nation here. Today, I stand before you as a proud member of our San Diego community, a community that rallies around our beloved Padres. We are here not just to cheer for a team, but to embody the spirit of sportsmanship and camaraderie that makes our city great. As we continue our march through October, I want to take a moment to reflect on what it means to be a true fan. We know that rivalries can ignite passion, but let's ensure that our enthusiasm is grounded in respect and dignity. We've all seen the behavior, some fans from other teams, those who choose to engage in classless actions that mar the integrity of the game. Dodger fans in particular have often exhibited behaviors that are not just disappointing, but damaging to the spirit of baseball. From inappropriate chants to disrespectful gestures, their actions remind us of what we do not want to become. As Padres fans, we have the opportunity to set a different standard. We can stand united in our passion without resorting to negativity or hostility. We can cheer our team with pride while also respecting the game and its players on both sides of the field. We're better than the unsportsmanlike conduct we witnessed last night at Dodger Stadium. Let us commit to creating an environment at Petco Park that reflects our values, an environment that encourages excitement, joy, and respect. Let's cheer loud and proud, but let's do it with class. Let's celebrate every home run, every strikeout, and every stolen base with integrity and goodwill. I ask each of you to join me in this commitment. Let's be the fans who uplift our team and community, who show the world what it means to be part of the Friar family. Let's embrace the rivalry, but let's do so in a way that elevates the game and honors our passion, just as our beloved owner, Peter Seidler, would want us to do. Together, we can make our voices heard, not through anger, but through celebration. Let's create memories we can all cherish, showcasing our pride and love for the Padres without descending into the negativity. And remember, if Dodger fans want to fight other Dodger fans at Petco Park, let them. We want them to feel at home. Thank you for your unwavering support, and let's go Padres.
4 more years! 4 more years!
Thank you.
4 more years of playoff appearances, at least.
Appreciate it.
For your San Diego Padres. I know this is a Ben Woods election year.
I think you just lost the election.
I actually want to say, to foster unity moving forward, I don't want there to be any challenges. I'm going to gracefully bow out and concede the election here early. In fact, we don't even need to send out the ballots this year.
Guy.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Proud to serve Ben Woods another 4 more years.
I would love to still be a part of your administration
going
forward.
You're still in fact, you just got promoted.
Thank you.
You're no longer the Secretary of Homeland Exploration.
So you just heard Woods call on Padres fans to demonstrate our classiness. I want to go one step further. If you see something that doesn't look like it belongs at Petco Park,
let them know.
Don't ignore it.
Yeah, for sure.
Stop it. Or alert security and make sure that we have this to lord over the Dodgers for all time.
Correct. And
I do not envy the security guards slated to work the third base, left field sections tomorrow.
No, I don't either. Just keep it together, right? And just remember, man, I like to think of Peter. How did he act? How did he certainly would have been doing what I did on Twitter. I get that. I understand that fully. That being said, I'll be at the game tomorrow night. I'm not going to fight anybody. I'm just going to have a good time. Win or lose, I'm going to have a great time.
We got postseason Sammy still coming up. What a show this has been. I want to talk more about Saturday's game as well. We haven't really gotten into that. Do that next after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
the line. All right, here we go. Black 17 on. That is mine. No. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
the line. All right, here we go. Black 17 on. That is mine. No. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Yesterday, Woods was obviously, as close to must-win as you get in the playoffs. You do not want to fall behind 2-0 in a best-of-5 series. Not impossible to come back, but most teams do not. I think it's close to 90% of the time, at least, you're going to close out that series. 55% of the time, they go on to sweep when you win the first two games. So it was one the Padres really had to have after losing Game 1. But now that the Padres are coming home with a split, I look back at those last two games, and I wonder how fortunate the Dodgers must feel to not be behind 2-0 right now, because that game on Saturday obviously could have gone either way, Padres had 2 leads that they couldn't hold on to. And there's obviously some places that you can talk about in that game. Should they have attacked Shohei Ohtani differently? Should they have walked him with runners on base? Mike Schilt going to go to his grave happy and sleeping peacefully about the decisions he made in that game. I know Padres fans don't all share Mike Schilt's opinion on that, but, what did you think on Saturday's game, ultimately the 7-5 loss to the Dodgers?
Well, I think, you can go back to Saturday night's game and you can point to one thing in particular, and it's the inability of Dylan Cease to be able to handle the bottom of their lineup. And of course, Shohei's going to get his, man. He's going to get his. He turned around a 99-mile-an-hour heater at his letters, which is what he does. And so the fact that you couldn't keep Lux and Smith and guys like that off the base paths just sets you up for very, very high-stress pitches, very, very high-stress innings. I didn't necessarily agree with the 2-2 walk to Mookie until I thought about it a little more and reached out to some special counsel that might be on the in my phone. And I said, I got to know some thoughts about this. And my special counsel said, well, I mean, you saw those 2 pitches that Morejon threw. If you're Mookie Betts, what are you looking for? What are you looking to do damage on? He just yanked the splitter, yanked the slider. What are you looking to do? 2-2. What's coming? Everybody on the planet knows, including Mookie Betts, you're going to get a fastball center cut. So put him on, play the matchup, fine. I said, okay, crap. I never really thought about that. And
it's weird. I disagree a little bit with your source.
Well, but the thing is,
you can't. You're not afraid of walking him. Obviously, you're about to do it intentionally.
Right.
You can throw a fastball, but it doesn't have to be anywhere near the middle of the plate. Don't you give Mookie a chance to get himself out? He probably won't. But I mean, you throw something a little high and outside, and
he's gonna probably offer at it because he also knows. He thinks he knows what's coming.
I mean, with 2 strikes, the advantage is with the pitcher. I don't care what the matchup is. And Mike Schilt had his numbers, how rarely Mookie strikes out against lefties, but that doesn't account for the fact there's already 2 strikes on him. That is in general circumstances, sure. Yes. Mookie's not going to strike out that often. He can do damage. He's a dangerous hitter in that spot. But you've got 2 strikes on him.
Man, I agreed with you.
You don't want to throw
100%.
another wild pitch and bury one in the dirt, which is where you probably could get swing and miss, but you can't. There's just no way. You can't throw 4 inches outside.
Remember
slide,
this, though. Remember this.
I don't know.
Playoff game. You've just yanked 2 pitches, one of which scored a run. So now you're going to hone it in with your pinpoint precision. The moment the inning sped up so freaking fast in that little short window, it sped up so fast. And those are the kinds of things that none of us will ever be able to understand, how fast that game speeds up. Yeah, and look, and really it goes back to Dylan Cease. I don't know enough about pitching to know what exactly was wrong with him that night, Benny, other than I sure felt that we could have used a lot more length from Dylan Cease and girth that night specifically. But, hey, man, it's the playoffs. You're seeing it across baseball. Garrett Cole got torched, by the Royals. They ended up winning that game, but it's not easy to pitch in the playoffs. It's just not. And what Yu Darvish did last night makes it all that much more special because, you're talking about a guy like Dylan Cease with top-tier stuff and still couldn't foil that lineup. They're a really good lineup.
Back to just Morejon quickly. It's the same guy. He got 2 strikes on Mookie. I mean, he did get there. So I would have given him the chance to get that 3rd strike. What did you think about Donovan Solano going to the plate?
I felt great about it.
Instead of trying for the double play. Would have been a tough double play for sure. Even from my angle, getting that return throw to the pitcher, trying to cover I
felt great about it.
Is a very tough play to end the inning.
He made it look so easy. And again, momentum's going one way. I know Freddie's running. I loved it. And it was a perfect throw. Or not perfect throw, but a really nice play by Higgy there to kind of hold on to it, man.
And I talked to Jackson about the Teoscar liner that scored the 2. Almost was there. And he talked about the fact that such a tough situation because you don't want to let that ball get past you.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about that. You want to make that play, though, and you're trying to decide, am I close enough to lay out for it, and how is that going to look, and how's it going to work? So just that ultimate no man's land that I think that,
Terrible,
that
man.
you know, every
Terrible
center
feeling.
field.
Not
doesn't
terrible
mean-
him.
It doesn't mean he did anything wrong on that play. It
We're
just,
so used to when it was hit.
Yeah.
We are so used to and conditioned, like the error from Manny. That's why I haven't tweeted anything like defeatist or doomer really all year, honestly. Like I was trying to think of my last defeatist doomer tweet. When I tweeted the other night, it feels like it's not our night. It's, you know why? I saw Manny Machado make a throwing error. And that to me said, all right, this isn't, I mean, you know, he looked at the ball, had the whole thing, the whole Manny experience. Great pick. And when he threw it up and away, I went, all right, not our night. Fine, flush it, get the next one. We still had a chance to win that game. So they played really good baseball. We played really bad baseball, and we still had a chance to win that game. So was very, very bummed about it, certainly. It sucked. I hated it. Hated every second about it. But it was, I think they learned from it. And I think Mike Schilt learned from it, too.
One thing we don't know is in Game 1, the Padres were not able to score off the high leverage arms of the Dodgers. They had chances. They didn't have bad at-bats necessarily, but they weren't able to get it done. They were yesterday, but that was against some of the lower leverage guys at the back of their bullpen, not the Trinan, not Kopech. You know, you're going to see those guys certainly in the next couple of games. They can't go, they're not going out without a fight, and you will see those guys. Can the Padres add on or come back or break a tie when they have to later in this series against Kopech or Trinan, because those guys were tough in Game 1, and they will be tough again the next time Dave Roberts goes to them in a close game late. Hopefully Padres are ahead, but you can't guarantee that that'll be the case.
Yeah, no question, man. You know, I thought if you're a Dodger fan, you can't feel super great about what you saw out of Kopech. He throws hard, that's for sure. And then the kid last night, too. That's the kid I was like, oh, this guy could be a wild card for them. Padres roughed him up. The kid that throws 104. Henriquez? Henriquez. He's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's got really good stuff. Padres had no problem with.
Yeah.
So
I would be surprised if Roberts went to him again at all in this series.
Yeah.
Probably done. All right, we'll come back. Postseason Sammy was at the games with me at Dodger Stadium the last couple of days. We'll get his impressions on the first two in the NLDS coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Man, I hope this playoff run never ends.
For real. Well, I
know, ultimately it has to end even if they win the World Series. But I kind of would love it if it just went on right through January into spring training.
The season's too short, in my opinion. They need 275 regular season games.
So much fun. It's just so much fun.
A couple months of playoffs. There's nothing like it. I mean, we haven't even talked about the other games. I mean, the game yesterday, we were all following along in the dugout. Mets-Phillies was bananas. Bananas. One of the guys on my kid's team is a Philly fan. He took all three of his sons out there. He texted me a picture before the game of them all nice and sweet posing, and then after, and it was like all three of them were like, ah! And he goes, "You have no idea the day we just had." My buddy Billy Burris, and it was incredible.
I have no idea who's going to win that series.
None. Just when you think you've got it clocked, the Mets come back with some devil magic and voodoo, and then the Phillies end up with Nick Castellanos. Like, everybody watch your back today, Nick Castellanos. He does it after the event, though, or
usually
at the same
during
time.
simultaneously.
When I heard he walked it off, I go, Who died?
Who died? Just like at the same time. So it's been incredible. Postseason baseball has been elite this year, as it usually is.
Now, it does come with a lot of work, especially for our next guest, Sam Levitt, who was up there doing his thing at Dodger Stadium. We will be joined by postseason Sammy right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. All kinds of stuff going on this time around, guys. We've got this tractor trailer blocking the two right lanes on northbound 805 before University. Also traveling on southbound 5 before Claremont Drive. Collision involving a couple vehicles there over the right shoulder. Westbound 52 past the 125, a collision over the right shoulder. Also hit and run on northbound 125 before Fletcher Parkway. That's over to the right shoulder. In the North County, southbound 5 before Lucadia. Collision involving a couple vehicles there over the right shoulder. And we got a crash on northbound 15 before Camino del Norte. That has been cleared out of the two left lanes. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
But the last time I saw Sam Levitt, he and Adam Klug were hitchhiking from Dodger Stadium, literally looking for a ride from anyone.
How'd that go?
Fortunately, I was there to pick them up. Well, Jimmy was in our 10 News van. We crammed in. Adam was sitting on my lap in the front seat. Sammy was sitting on John's lap in the back seat.
It's incredible.
And we ferried them down to their parking spot, which was 7 miles from Dodger Stadium. Sammy, I hope you made it home all right last night.
Well, if you're a fan of Dave Matthews Band, then Adam Klug's car was the place for you last night. We had a
God.
I knew Woodsy. Woodsy, we've never talked about this. I know you do not like Dave Matthews Band.
He's fine.
I mean, it could have been Dan and Shay all the way home too, so.
He's never told me though that he was such a DMB fan.
Well, it was good. We listened to some DMB. We talked. We had a good time. Yes, but
makes sense in my head.
We were quite literally walking out of the stadium and realizing that maybe the shuttle to where Adam was parked.
Why did he park so far?
Well, that's the parking he got. I mean, I can't control the parking he got.
Not you, but like what? You know you have to get to your car at some point, right? Just pay for it. Pay for the parking that's closer.
I don't know that that's how it. Well, he was probably relatively close by Dodger Stadium standards,
right?
But I don't know that he didn't get the premier.
We had an amazing parking spot. I'll just
you
say
guys
that.
did,
Channel. We did.
Course.
We were right, like pretty much backed up into the stadium gates is where we were parked.
Right.
So yeah,
There's a lot right outside the entrance that media go in, and then there's, I guess, other parking. And Adam was in the other parking, but we got very lucky. I don't know how we would have got down there if Ben and his crew there didn't roll up, and then it was like clown car, us piling in with my 3 different suitcases and pieces of equipment. So So shout out to those guys for giving us a ride and getting us to the Klug Mobile.
Well, shout out to Sammy. Your coverage last night was incredible. My co-host over here taking selfies of himself sitting in the crowd at Dodger Stadium. Sammy's actually showing us what's happening on the field, the litter and the bottles being rained down.
Sammy was in the actual press box. He was a little closer to the action than
I look
was.
over, and here's Ben giving proof of life selfies. I'm like, all right, well, listen. Your coverage was outstanding, as it always is. You were there, man. What was it like? What was it like in the press box when that stuff started happening?
Yeah, it was crazy to watch the baseballs being thrown in left field and then what was going on in right field. And honestly, just from that viewpoint, behind home plate, to see all the security out on the field. I mean, it was really hard to know exactly what was going on and where stuff was being thrown from. And then you see videos later of stuff getting thrown in the Padres bullpen. And it was a mess for those 10 minutes. I mean, I thought Profar was rightfully really upset. I thought the Padres did, and Mike Schultz did a great job going out there, surrounding him, getting around him, supporting him. But from behind home plate, I mean, it was a mess. I mean, there was security everywhere, umpires everywhere, players everywhere, and then they were trying to seemingly sort out how to calm down the situation. And, you know, what I kept thinking of as that happened, as the Dodgers obviously had a lot to say to the Padres last night, as that environment started to kind of unravel throughout the course of the game, I just kept thinking to myself, have the Dodgers not learned that this is a Padres team that you don't want to irk?
Right.
That Jurickson Profar in particular is a guy you don't want to irk, because I think you can make the argument this team plays its best baseball when they get irked, when you poke the bear. And we saw it really early in the season with the Will Smith irrelevant comments. You could argue that was a pivotal moment in the early part of the Padres season
100%.
and for Jurickson Profar, because something happened with Jurickson Profar after that comment was made. And then you think about the National Series. Every time this team gets poked, they seem to rise to the moment and play some of their best baseball. And I thought last night, and I tweeted it out late last night, I think if you're a Padres fan, you have to be really, really proud, happy with everything they were last night. They were tough. They were poised. They rose to the moment. They talked with their play on the field, with their bats. Yu Darvish was outstanding on a night where they needed him to be, even though they scored a lot of runs. They needed him to be outstanding, and he was vintage Yu Darvish. Manny Machado getting the team together after that wild bottom half of the seventh inning to calm things down, to refocus them, as Jackson Merrill, said after the game, to make sure they were locked in. I just thought, and we'll see how the rest of the series plays out, probably a long way to go, but I just thought you have to be really proud of what they were last night, both on the field with the way they played and the way they handled that situation. And I don't care about Tatis making faces and obviously Profar, jumping up and down after he literally robbed the home run from the fans in left field. Bottom line, you can't throw objects on the field. I mean, that just can't ever happen anywhere. But I was really impressed with what they were last night as a group. And to me, that you don't want to get them mad. You don't want to poke the bear, because we've seen that's when they tend to play some of their best and most inspired baseball.
Sam Levitt is with us. And Sam, you were in all those news conferences. I was struck pregame yesterday by Xander Bogaerts and some of the things he had to say about having to bounce back in the playoffs. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, I think Xander, for some of the ups and downs that he's had as a Padre so far, and injuries have played a part of it, the wrist last year and obviously the shoulder injury this year. Look, he has something that's pretty unique inside that clubhouse, and that's 2 World Series titles, and has been on 2 major postseason runs with the Red Sox to go win a World Series. And I thought yesterday the most important thing he talked about, and I thought he made a great point, because you talk about the game on Saturday. Game 1 was a tough loss. I mean, let's be honest about it. That felt like a really winnable game. It really did. They had a 3-0 lead. They had a 5-3 lead. Dylan Cease wasn't great. And then, You have kind of some of the things that happened in the fourth inning, and you can talk about the Betts walk and how they approached Ohtani, and you can go on and on and on and talk about the different situations in that game. And then the offense doesn't score in the final 6 innings, and then they have the opportunities late and they can't cash in. That felt like a really winnable game. I mean, it did. It felt like a missed opportunity, game one, for this team to take a 1-game-to-none lead. But Xander, to bring it back to him, he talked yesterday before the game about, look, it's the postseason, and even in a World Series run, you're going to have really tough losses. Like, it is about bouncing back. It is about how quickly you can bounce back. And look, this team, the Padres, even in the first half of the year when they would go on that, 5-game losing skid, what did we say back then? They were always finding ways to kind of move past.
Oh, we're losing you. We're losing you, Sammy.
Oh, you got me now?
That's
you got
it.
me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
They were always They were always finding ways to.
Yeah, always finding ways to bounce back, even in the first half of the season, even when they were losing, 5 in a row and then bouncing back and getting to 500. Like, the ability to bounce back after tough losses and tough stretches really all year. So Xander's point was, look, that's even more imperative in the postseason because you're going to have heartbreaking losses, right? Like, if you're the Mets and the Phillies, if you're the Mets waking up this morning, hey, last night's game was right there for the taking for you. You didn't win it. Instead of being up 2-0, you're now even at 1. You've got to find a way to now bounce back 48 hours later. So same applies for everybody, but, that was kind of the gist of what Xander had to say yesterday.
We always talk about the emotional moments of the series, and I think they're big and they're relevant. And you hit 6 home runs, you're probably going to win any game. But ultimately, this series, I don't think anything has changed. When the Dodgers set up the top of their order and the bottom guys get on and the top guys come through, like they did in the first game, Dodgers will win. Yesterday, when the Dodgers top of the order goes 0 for 10 with 4 strikeouts, they're going to lose. Doesn't matter how many home runs the Padres are going to hit. If those guys don't come through, Sam, at the top of the order, Dodgers don't really have a chance. But, they do come through a lot. So I think that's going to be key going forward here.
Yeah, and the Padres did a much better job against the bottom of their order as well yesterday. I mean, they had 5 hits and 2 walks and 4 runs scored. The bottom 4 spots in the Dodgers lineup in game 1. And then yesterday, you looked at it, Edmund had a single, Lux had a single, Smith had a walk, but they had 1 guy get to second base out of that bottom of the order yesterday. And then you're right. Look, if Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman are not going to have any hits, then I don't see how the Dodgers win this series. Quite frankly, hey, of everything you Darvish did last night, how about him making Ohtani go 0 for 3 en route to an 0 for 4 night?
Crazy.
The way Ohtani's singing it right now, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So you're right, Ben. I mean, look, if they don't do, major things, Ohtani, Betts, and we'll see the status of there are, I would say, 2 pretty big injury notes, right now. Freeman with the ankle coming out yesterday, and Xander Bogaerts apparently having a hamstring cramp. Guys, I'm not sure who plays shortstop if Xander can't play.
Nick
I'm
Ahmed.
not saying he can't play, but well, he's not on the roster.
But
though,
you can bring him up for an injury.
But not if Xander is good. But then Xander's gone for the playoffs.
The whole playoffs,
which you can't do either. Sammy, we're gonna let you go.
But they okay, yeah, hamstring cramp. So hopefully nothing.
Yeah, hopefully it's. But even for one day, you've got an issue, even if he can't play for one game. Sammy, thank you so much. All the coverage. You can follow him at Sammy Lev. Unbelievable stuff. He's been covering every second of it all season long, and including the playoffs where he works even harder than he does in the regular season, which is pretty hard. And we appreciate Sammy very much. Yeah, the injury, hopefully a cramp, you think that's not something that's going to, impact you for multiple days, and having the day off is big. But, Freddie Freeman's injury and Xander Bogaerts, both of them, very important for the two teams. And for the Padres, it's actually maybe even more critical because they do have an issue. If Xander's out and you don't have Ha-Sung Kim, now you're talking about what? Moving Jake over to
Tyler Wade,
to shortstop? Is Tyler Wade going to get a start in a playoff game at shortstop? That is definitely not ideal, especially with Xander having come through in these first 2 games of the series.
Jackson Merrill to short, Brandon Lockridge to center.
Tatis back to short all of a sudden.
Tatis back to short.
I mean, there's definitely some issues there. They want to get Xander as healthy as possible in the next 24 hours to make sure that he is on the field for them.
Yeah, get those bananas in you. Get that.
For a team that has nothing but shortstops,
we are
it's
short
weird
again.
that we're short on shortstops.
Short
again.
a shortstop again.
Woo! All right, we've got 1 hour
What a
still to
show.
go. I do want to talk about some of those other games from the weekend, not just yesterday's walk-off, but American League as well, which resumes today. We got 2 more baseball games coming up. We'll talk about all of it in the last hour of Bennett Woods ahead on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I'll say when you host a morning show that's 4 hours long, there are some days that go quick and some days that go painfully slowly. It might have been one of the fastest 3 hours I've ever experienced on the radio. I can't believe it's already 9 o'clock this morning.
It's true, but I had just told Paul in the bathroom, I am out of gas.
Yeah.
1,000% out of gas. The emotional, the energy when you are watching the games, it just zaps you. And I'm starting to feel a little run down. So I'm like, dude, I gotta get, make sure everybody gets their rest in. The anxiety is pretty gnarly pregame. Luckily, we had a couple games yesterday to kind of take our mind off it, which was really nice. But today, you're just rotting. Now, there's other games, which is great. You can watch the other games today. And then tomorrow is going to be massively excruciating, waiting all day.
So here's the schedule for today. Padres and Dodgers will work out this afternoon at Petco Park. News conferences with the managers, Mike Schilt, Dave Roberts, and the Game 3 scheduled starting pitchers, Michael King and Walker Buehler. For the Dodgers, they will speak. Clubhouses will be open. We will be covering it for you here on 97.3 The Fan. Stay tuned, obviously, during the Gwynn and Chris program and to all of our social media channels for all the sound and everything that's going on today. It's amazing, there's every single day there's media opportunities. It's kind of less and less you can ask as you go on, but I imagine there's going to be a refreshing after yesterday of new questions and new topics going forward for everyone to address. So that's here. And then the American League Division Series, both of them will continue with Games 2 today after an off day yesterday at 1:08 p.m. on TBS and that family of networks. The Tigers and their ace, Tarek Skubal, will take on the Guardians and Matthew Boyd at Progressive Field. The Guardians were pretty solid winners on Saturday in Game 1. 7-0 behind Tanner Bybee and 4 relievers who combined on a 4-hit shutout. Tigers looked like maybe obviously they don't have as much pitching, and they had a little bit of energy sapped out of them from that wild card series getting through to the next round against the Houston Astros. But with Skubal on the mound, they've got to like their chances today, Woods, of maybe evening the series and getting home field advantage back to Detroit. That's what an ace does for you in a short series situation. Yeah, no question, man. I'm elated to watch him throw. When is that? 1:08. 1:08. Okay, cool. And then after that, you've got the 4:38 game, the Royals with Cole Reagans, who was outstanding. Nasty. In their wild card series, and they'll take on the Yankees' Carlos Rodon in Game 2. The Yankees and Royals played a absolutely wild game on Saturday that featured 5 different lead changes. That has never happened, apparently, in a postseason series. Just back and forth all the way until the 7th inning when it was tied at 5, and Alex Verdugo's RBI single broke the tie and gave the Yankees ultimately a 6-5 win. Like, that's what we always talk about, the unlikely postseason hero. You couldn't find a player with a fan base that is more loathed by their own fan base than Alex Verdugo is by the Yankee fans that I see on Twitter. I mean, you guys, it's staggering. And for him to come through and get that knock and help propel them to a win is insane. After, their ace, Garrett Cole, certainly didn't have it either the other night. So we were talking about it when we were talking about Dylan Cease. It's certainly something that happens. It is an entirely different animal this postseason. Speaking of fan bases, so the Phillies fan base, and we heard Jeff Passan when he was on earlier, compared with the Padres, maybe 2 of the best atmospheres in all of baseball. And, of course, we talked about the story about the standing ovation for Trey Turner. Hey, let's get behind him, and how feel-good that was. How about Phillies fans booing Nick Castellanos yesterday, earlier in the game, after they had lost Game 1, were struggling to hit? He actually is getting boos in Game 2 of the division series. Well, how does he respond? He comes back and has the walk-off hit at the end of the game. Obviously, those boos would turn into cheers. If I was a Phillies fan, though, I would feel awful if I booed the guy the same game that he ended up being the walk-off hit winner. Did you see the lip reading? He was what did he say? These effing people is what he said. He is the coldest dude of all time. My wife loves Castellanos, as do I. He's ice cold. His quote after the game was, "I was just kind of frustrated, so I guess I locked in more." So is that
him saying, "Boo me, go ahead." I mean, you see it with Manny sometimes, like you said last night. Certain players, Fernando is one of those players that kind of stuff feeds him. I mean, if an entire stadium was booing me, I would soil myself, right? Like, those are the guys who are like, oh, okay. They don't mind being the villain. Castellanos is one of them. But, man, what a cool moment for them yesterday. And a lot of credit to the Mets, too. They just don't quit. They just don't quit. 2 in the top of the 9th. Our old pal Matty Strom coughed up the lead. Like, it is a tough thing to do to get 27 outs against the New York Mets right now. Just insanely tough.
Yeah, I have no idea who's going to win that series, but
it is a coin flip.
Either the Padres or Dodgers are going to Philly or New York
to get one of them.
And it's going to be pretty crazy. Now, again, if the Mets win the series and take on the Padres in the NLCS, the Padres would have home field advantage. If the Phillies win the series, of course, the Padres would have to go to Philadelphia for games 1 and 2 on Sunday and Monday. I get that's 2 wins away.
You got to get there first, but that is a factor in my rooting interest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The only difference is if the Dodgers win, the Phillies would have to come to L.A. for games 1 and 2 because the Dodgers would have home field in both of those series.
Right,
so that's
because they were the best team in baseball with the best record, and
those
the
underdog
number one,
Dodgers,
the number one overall underdog Dodgers have what? Home field advantage throughout the playoffs and the World Series. Correct.
Well, it's because
Something's not adding up.
It's because they struggled so badly in the second half to the finish line.
Oh, no, that couldn't be it.
Oh, wait, they had the second best record since the All-Star break in all of baseball.
Yeah, it's because they don't have an MVP.
Oh, wait, no, they've definitely got the MVP.
Oh, it's because they don't have 2 MVPs.
Well, they got 2.
It's actually because they don't have 3 MVPs.
They got 3.
It's actually because they were the only team with any injuries at all this season.
I heard a Dodgers fan calling in on my way in this morning. Go, well, I mean, no one's had the kind of injuries and he's kind of doing this math in his head. It's the Dodgers have dealt with these incredible injuries. Well, I mean, yeah, the Padres did lose Joe Musgrove, I guess, now. And I guess Ha-Seong Kim was lost for the season. And, they did lose Tatis for a couple of months. And they did lose Bogarts that was a couple of months as well. He was like arguing against himself. He called in to say why the Dodgers were going to lose. He said, I'm a Dodgers fan. I've actually put money on the Padres in this series.
It's called emotional insurance.
Because I just feel like, the Dodgers just aren't healthy enough. They've just been ravaged by injuries, unlike any other team. Well, but of course, the Padres have also been hit very hard by injuries throughout the course of this season.
Yeah, man, as have the Guardians, as have the Yankees, as have the Royals. I mean, Manny Machado played, with one arm essentially at the beginning of the season, did not play well. It's something that is you can't tell me every year how great you are at spending, development, all of that, and then say, well, we're not ready. We're unprepared. When you get to October and you're unprepared, you can't tell me it doesn't work that way. You've won 11 out of 12 division titles. What were the excuses then for the other times? Everybody has injuries. Everybody. We lost Yu Darvish for months and to a personal matter. We lost him. We had to suffer through Adam Mazur starts. We had to figure out a way to grind with some of the pitchers that we had to call up, Benny. Randy Vasquez and guys like that, man. It's the way that baseball is, and it's a war of attrition. It's not like that's the thing is like the Dodgers know it's a war of attrition as well. They see it every single year. There's always a reason why, we're rusty. Well, they didn't look rusty in game 1. They hit the ball fine in game 1, quite well, some would say. The Guardians were not rusty. What did Mike Schultz say? Winners, what is it? Losers make excuses and winners find reasons or whatever it was. But it's so true. It's like, yeah, man, like you're still the Dodgers. You still have this elite talent. You still can hit. I mean, they're still a really good hitting team, and they have a lockdown bullpen that's now pretty rested for the next game. So it's
losers complain, winners find solutions.
Winners find solutions. That's it. Losers complain, winners find solutions. And so that's what I hope the mentality is with our Padres, and so far, so good.
By the way, can we put the narrative of the bye is the,
Correct.
worst thing to bed?
Correct.
As you said. The 3 of the 4 teams that had the bye won their first game.
Correct.
The one that didn't, the Phillies, came back and won the second game.
Correct.
I think that was a small sample size. You'd only seen it for a couple of years. had a couple of teams, just didn't work out for them. Doesn't mean that a bye is a bad thing. A bye is a good thing.
Always.
Now, put me in the situation where you know you're getting through the first round, as the Padres did. I like the fact that they were able to play during those, get some confidence, win those 2 games against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Still have, Dylan Cease going on in game 1. Didn't work out for them, but I wasn't unhappy with that situation. But I'll never turn down the opportunity to bye. You'll never convince me that a bye is actually a bad thing to have in a postseason situation.
Well, and like as much as I want baseball today for the San Diego Padres, I'm also very thankful that we have a day off today, which could also be construed as rest. Xander Bogaerts needs rest. Fernando Tatis Jr. needs rest. These guys, and I know some of them are very locked in at the plate and probably don't want a day. Jake Cronenworth needs a mental reset right now. Not hitting the ball, at all, and looks a little bit lost up at the plate. But again, these are our guys. There's nothing else we can do. There's nobody else that's going to go in and play second base. You may be able to move Arise over there. I don't want to see that necessarily. Give me Crony's glove. Keep playing good defense. If you get on base, run the bases hard and smart like you always do. And I trust that he's going to figure it out. I trust. That's all I can do. I trust Victor Rodriguez immensely. Whatever he's doing right now, we know Crony. He's working his tail off to fix it. The results haven't been there yet.
David wants to know who's supposed to start for the Padres on Wednesday. Cease on short rest. I think you can almost completely put that scenario to bed right now. Yes, if the Dodgers win tomorrow and it's an elimination game, and in an elimination game,
all hands on deck.
All hands are on deck. But my guess is that Dylan Cease going on short rest is far down the list of options right now of what Mike Schilt. I think you'd rather go with a bullpen day or Martin Perez, even in an elimination game at this point, than asking Dylan Cease after what was not his best outing to come then on short rest and try to do it again. Now his pitch count wasn't insanely high because he only went into the
was he like 80
fourth
something
inning or something? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, could it be possible? Yes, I do not expect that to happen.
I don't either. I think Martin Perez. But again, it's so funny, man. We sat in the dugout with Michael King a couple of weeks ago and interviewed him for his King of the Hill Foundation. And you essentially had a guy sitting next to us who was lobbying for a playoff start. Like, I'd love to start in the playoffs, and everybody thought if Joe stayed healthy, they were going to move King to the bullpen. That also leads me to believe they knew something might be up with Joe Musgrove's arm, as Joe did. He's been telling them, like, hey, it's tight. I'm going to keep going. That gives you a little more clarity as to why they made that move. But here we go from a guy lobbying for a playoff start, Benny, to now a guy with a massive, massive start in Game 3 at home. Now has become the ace of your staff, although Yu Darvish has something to say about that after last night's performance. Brilliant performance. I thought that was really cool, and I'm so happy for Michael King. And the place is going to be buzzing tomorrow night.
I feel good with Michael King on the mound. I was at that game back in May that he started, the one that Arise walked off. But that really was Michael King's dominance in that game against the Dodgers. Looked really good. One of his sharpest outings of the season at Petco Park. He'll have a chance to recreate that tomorrow night in front of what will be an even bigger and louder crowd. And that was a pretty big and loud crowd that night when Luis Arias made his Petco Park debut, and Michael King pitched so well against the Dodgers that night. So I feel good about that. And I'm sure you talked about it on Saturday at AleSmith, but in terms of Joe, yeah, some of the things we found out in the aftermath of his injury, that this was something he had been dealing with for like weeks and pitching through it, and just hoping if I can just get to the end of the playoffs, and pitch a few more good games. I mean, it's amazing how many great games Joe pitched without being 100% healthy.
Yeah, no doubt.
It really was. He gave everything he had to the San Diego Padres this season. He gave his arm to try to win a World Series this year.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, he's going to lose an entire year of pitching. And, I mean, I took my son, who's 6, who loves Joe Musgrove so much, and I said, buddy, he's going to be 7 in February. I go, you won't see Joe Musgrove pitch till you're 8. Think about that for a second. His face just went white, man. Big sign poster of Joe over his bed. The Joe Musgrove height measuring thing in his room. He loves Joe. I think a lot of us do. And I was so bummed to watch him choke up that much emotion. It's a special feeling this team has. You saw him last night. That dude was pounding on the top rail of the dugout. It was so cool to see.
I do think, and, with my limited medical knowledge of what's going on here, I don't think the Padres did anything wrong. In fact, probably the worst case scenario would be try to, shut down Joe through the offseason, and then he comes back in spring training next year and
tries again.
It's not really working, and then they have to do the Tommy John surgery. Then he's out 2025 and probably into the late 2026. Now, hopefully, gets the surgery done, goes through the rehab, and by the time spring training rolls around in 2026, Joe will have 2 seasons left on his contract, have a new arm, and we've seen pitchers come back, not even as good, but sometimes even better when they come back. And Joe's going to put in every drop of the work and then some to come back. I look forward to seeing that moment when Joe comes back, because I know he's still got more to give for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, Higgy has said he's irreplaceable, and I said it on the broadcast, in my word salad broadcast at AleSmith on Saturday. He is irreplaceable, but you need to find a way to replace him. There's somebody who's going to have to come up and basically, what are we talking about here? You need to replace 5 innings, essentially. Six. You need to find a way to get through those 6 innings without Joe in this series, and then you got to figure it out, if you make it, how to get through, maybe 10, 12. You got to find those somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's it going to be?
But, you lost him. He wouldn't have had an impact on games 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to pitch either way.
Correct.
So, you are where you're still going to be. Now, going forward, yeah, it's definitely a big issue. But right now, haven't seen that impact yet. All right, we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we do have some tickets to give away. Woods, what do you know about Sublime?
What do you mean, what do I know about Sublime?
What do you know about Sublime?
Well, I know that they're a huge, huge band.
Okay.
And I know that Bradley Knoll, the singer, passed away.
Okay.
And then Rome took over, and then he left, and now Bradley Knoll's son is the singer for Sublime, which I think is pretty cool. My wife is a huge Sublime.
Is she?
Yeah,
All right,
born and raised San Diego.
Gallagher Square tickets, Sublime with Rome, coming to Gallagher Square. With Rome, yes.
No. He's out, isn't he?
It says with Rome.
Sublime with Rome.
Sublime
we need
with
to double
Rome.
check this.
I didn't know Rome was a person.
So this is Rome's. Oh, are they doing the bit where it's like, I'm Ben and Woods, but Ben's not here anymore, but I'm keeping the brand?
I don't know. We'll give away some tickets when we come back after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, here we go. Flag 17 on. That is lined up. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
All right, here we go. Flag 17 on. That is lined up. All right, hit me.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
It's very nice to be back in San Diego.
I bet, man.
After a couple of days in Los Angeles.
I bet.
It's a different world up there. It is. And you know what? I will say something nice. That the stadium has a bit of charm to it, history to it, that you walk in and you notice that's there. It's just once it's filled with the people, it doesn't feel like Petco Park.
Yeah, a lot of old buildings do.
Yeah, maybe
They
that's
have like
just
little
it.
monuments, like 3 people were arrested here, 1 person injured in a brawl here.
Hey, I'll credit. They put a plaque up for Tatis's monumental home run that left the yard. It wasn't I didn't actually go see that. I was actually near it. I should have gone and found that plaque
Yeah,
for
you
Fernando
should have. I mean,
Tatis
what-
Jr. I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I was so locked into the actual games that were being played.
I can't believe how effing far away you were. I really can't believe how far away you were.
It's a confusing stadium, though.
Is it?
Because it's built into the side of the ravine.
Right.
You go in on the 7th level, at
Right.
least when you're behind home plate. And then I'm trying to figure out. So I go down to the press box from the parking lot. And then you go way down, like to get to the field. You're like nosebleeds when you walk in the ballpark from the very top, at the very like upper deck. And then it's all downhill from there to the bottom.
Everybody is reminding us.
Kiss the roach. Even on a non-game day, we're not going to.
Miss that roach.
Not going to tempt any fates at this point.
Yep. What else? You had some Korean fried chicken. Is that right?
So yeah, so they gave us. They didn't.
Saw that
They
picture.
didn't cook meals in the press box. Not that I was in the press box, but
Boy, they
they
take
gave
care of
us.
you guys.
They gave us like a voucher that you could go and exchange for like I think it was like $25 at just one of the concession stands.
Okay.
So first day I was kind of looking out there in left field, and they had the Korean fried chicken bucket.
Yeah.
Which was dry and not great.
It looked very messy too.
Yeah, I had a fork. I just ate that. I didn't touch it. I just used a fork.
What
to
is
eat
it
that
like?
with.
Like orange chicken kind? Does it have that?
Yeah,
kind
yeah, a little bit like chicken fingers, but with like a Korean gochujang barbecue sauce on it.
Okay.
But I didn't like that very much.
It was not good.
Yesterday, I tried to go. I went with a chicken Caesar salad, something a little healthier, and I did get a slice of pizza, which
Okay.
actually wasn't bad.
All right.
That was probably the best thing I ate in the ballpark. Home plate pizza, kind of Detroit style, the square.
He loves Detroit.
The
Paulie,
square side, yeah,
remember?
Detroit
Do you
style
remember?
pizza. I made you go.
He
and
made us go
Peoria.
out of our way and get this Detroit style pizza.
You know how many Dodger dogs were free in the press box? As many as you can eat.
Oh, good.
Tony Gwynn Jr. was in the press box. They also had like ice cream, like the
Soft
what they
serve?
call it, paletas. They
Okay.
had soft serve, but they also had like popsicles, like the Mexican popsicles with the different flavors. He's eating one, and he goes, "You know, I think I'm going to get a hot dog too." And it's like, Tony, you're eating ice cream and you're going to get a hot dog at the same time. I'm impressed. I had 0 Dodger.
Yeah, they don't taste good.
I didn't want one.
Yeah.
I had no interest.
It's also bad juju.
Yeah, I just felt wrong. I mean, if it
I
was
do
just
not
called a hot
need-
dog, maybe, but I'm not eating something
Dodger
called a
dog.
Dodger dog.
I don't need my man up there just double fisting Dodger
No.
dogs in the press box.
No.
Chumming it up with John Smoltz.
Yeah, yeah,
Joe
yeah.
I
Davis.
passed on
Did
the
you see
Dodger
Joe Davis
dogs.
at all?
I did. I saw John Smoltz, but I never saw Joe Davis.
I got to talk to David Cohn last week. That was kind of fun. Good dude, really nice guy. Says he'll come on with us
find
soon.
out.
Yeah, text him. Get him on this week.
Did see Ken Rosenthal applying a copious amount of makeup
So much
in
makeup.
the dugout before his hits.
So much.
He had
makeup.
a lot. He works on the makeup a lot.
Yeah, Joe too. Yeah, a lot of makeup in there. Yeah, you have to for TV.
Alden Gonzalez from ESPN was there. He's good. He's
Your
good.
celebrity sightings were spectacular. The Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt was at the first game.
Yeah.
They do the bit like in the 7th inning stretch where they like search around for celebrities, and they always got it's LA.
It's LA, man.
It's what they
Yeah,
do.
of
So
course.
you're gonna get some celebrities. Billie Jean King was there. They focused on her. Ken Jeong. You cannot get away from Ken Jeong at
Dr.
that place.
Ken.
Dr. Ken.
Yeah.
Like every other half inning,
They
there's
go to
like
him?
something on the board with Dr. Ken screaming at you constantly. I mean, that place, he must own that place because there is so much Dr. Ken at Dodger Stadium. It's kind of unbelievable.
He's the one in the Hangover movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's funny dude.
They did have
He's a real doctor.
Is he?
Yeah,
he
I
is a
didn't
real
know- I
doctor.
did not
Him and
know
his
that.
wife
He's a
are like-
medical.
Of what?
He's a medical doctor.
Him and his wife are like surgeons or
Yeah.
something. Like he's a real doctor who always plays a doctor in Knocked Up and The Hangover. Well, he wasn't a doctor in The Hangover, but yeah, everybody calls him Dr. Ken.
They did have the I think it was the saxophonist for Stevie Wonder who performed the national anthem. He held the free in the land of the free note. Had to be like 45 seconds. I mean, everyone was like, he did it for like 20 seconds, and everyone was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he just kept going. He wasn't even halfway done. He just held that note. Like, I thought, they're going to have to delay the game simply for this guy holding the note on Land of the Free. I mean, it was remarkable. I will say that. It was absolutely remarkable.
That's so good. So good. Yeah, you're the celebrity Ben, man. That's where you belong.
Some
up
might
there.
even say it was sublime. And that transitions us to our giveaway. We got tickets for Sublime with Rome. They are coming to Gallagher Square on November 23rd. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. But if you want to win a pair, now's the time to call. Fourth caller, 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Chance to see Sublime with Rome at Gallagher Square after the season on November 23rd. Again, tickets on sale at Ticketmaster.com. All right, final segment of Ben and Woods. I feel like we still have only scratched kind of the surface of everything that happened in 3.5 hours.
Insane.
Which is...
So we got to save something for tomorrow because nothing's happening tonight.
That's
Remember.
true. We'll have a couple of American League games. We'll have press conferences. Who knows?
That's true.
What will be announced tonight?
Maybe Manny and Jack Flaherty actually go duke it out. I wonder if they ever met.
I was in the
last
parking
night.
lot. I did not see them meeting in the parking lot. I assume they just got, Manny probably just got on the team bus and went back to the San Diego
Jack
with the team.
does not want any part of that.
Yeah.
I like Jack Flaherty. I do.
We do have we never even played the audio.
Oh, we haven't
from
played
yesterday.
the Muncie audio.
We got the Dave Roberts
the
audio.
Dave Roberts audio.
Let's
the
play
Flaherty
some of that
audio.
in our final segment coming up.
Get you refired up.
Next year on 97.3 The Fan. Guess I didn't know that much about Jack Flaherty. I know he's only been a Dodger for a couple of months. Seems to go really hard all of a sudden. That's a weird thing about pro sports. Doesn't take long for a guy on a new team to all of a sudden be like, yeah, I love these guys more than anything else in the world, and I hate all the other 29 teams more than anything else, even though I was just on one of those other teams a couple of months ago, another team that's actually in the playoffs as well. But now I ride for these guys, and I'm going to get really upset because something I think perceived happened to these guys instead.
I will say, though, competition is competition, and a playoff start is a playoff start. Really doesn't matter who you're playing for. He's had a couple months with them, certainly. And Jack's a good pitcher and a good competitor, certainly. And you know, I tend to agree that hit by pitch was intentional last night. I really do. And I kind of felt it confirmed when I heard his post-game comments. And he talked about the Manny stuff. Again, Manny really did a good job at downplaying it afterward and said, yeah, man, it's just the heat of competition and blah, blah, blah. Which is, hey, man, you love it. And if you ever played in a chippy baseball game, anybody out there listening, at any level, if you ever played in a chippy baseball game, you know just how elite and special and fun it is. We played in one yesterday, and there's just nothing like it on the planet. On the planet. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got any fistfights. Nobody got their feelings hurt. And we all shook hands afterwards. But, boy, you sure love a chippy baseball game. And that's exactly what that was. So I doubt there will be any spillover. I doubt there will be any carryover. As long as, you know, our fans don't go do anything dumb and make us look bad, we got to rise above at Petco Park and just make it a really cool environment, as they have, you know, a ton of times this year. So I'm not too worried about it.
Before we hear from Jack Flaherty, is it possible that both Manny and Jack are being kind of honest and truthful here? Because there's a fine line between throwing at a guy on purpose and throwing way inside and not really caring where the pitch goes because you're not really interested in giving him a pitch to hit.
Correct.
I'm okay missing way inside on this guy. I'm not throwing at him, but
he said for effect. You'll hear it.
If he doesn't get out of the way, I'm not devastated that I hit him. That is a very fine line. Here's Jack Flaherty after the game.
You should never get involved. There's no reason. There's no need. No reason ever to throw anything at players. No matter what's going on, like, there's no reason to get involved with it. Stay out of it. And whatever went on over there, they have every reason to be upset about it. Like, we should never feel like we're ever going to get anything thrown at us on either side. So fans should never be involved. You know, they didn't like the pitch to Tatis. I missed in the first inning, and I threw the ball over the middle. I wasn't going to miss over the plate again, but I've got no reason to hit a guy there to start off the sixth, like, as good as he's been swinging the bat. But we're down in the game. I'm trying to go in for effect, and he didn't get out of the way. It hit him. Didn't try to go and hit him to try to lead off an inning or anything like that. That doesn't really make sense. Didn't go up near his head, nothing, just trying to push a guy off the plate. He didn't get out of the way. And sometimes that happens. They're upset about it. You know, that's part of it. I was fired up after getting Manny out. It was a big spot in the playoffs. You know, that's what happens. Like, I was fired up. Like, oh well. And then, you know, he did some in between innings where he decides to throw the ball at our dugout, and everybody kind of catches the tail end of it, which is me and him going at it. But, like, I was sitting there for my team. I wasn't sitting there to go at him, but, you know, he was throwing the ball at our dugout. And the umpires went over immediately to tell him, like, I don't know what their conversation was, but our dugout was fired up because there ain't no reason for that. Everybody caught the tail end of it. Everybody caught just me and him going at it. Like, Manny's a great player. Like, you know, I understand everybody getting, it's postseason, everybody's fired up. You get upset, like, frustrated about pitch hitting Tatis. Like I said, you know, you gotta be able to pitch him in. And I missed in the first inning, and I wasn't gonna miss over the plate again. Just trying to go in for effect. So there was a lot that happened there, but, you know, we want the fans to stay out of it. And you know, overall we just gotta play better. But, you know, it's you know, sometimes emotions run high in this game, and you just go out and, you know, we gotta regroup and go get the next one.
Breaking news. on 97.3 The Fan. Baseball player throws baseball towards dugout on a baseball field.
Well, dude, and the way that he acts, I've seen Manny do this a billion times. Just kind of flips it in. Like,
yeah, did he chuck it at 96 miles an hour at someone in the dugout?
No.
I don't think so.
He's not.
If he wanted to throw a ball at someone, you know what Manny would do? He'd hit that person because he throws the ball really hard. If he tosses a baseballs are being tossed all over the place between innings, during a game, all the time. Got to get it off the field. Can't stay on the field during the middle of an inning. So you toss it somewhere.
Well, Dominic makes a good point. So now we know if Flaherty ever hits someone in the head, he did it on purpose. I mean, that's what what you're saying is, yeah, you went in for effect, and you have to pitch inside. You got to move your feet.
He contradicted himself, though. He said, why would I want to do that against him to lead off an inning and put on a runner? But then you admitted you didn't want to ever give him anything to hit. I mean, if I'm going to hit someone, it's going to be the guy that I don't want to pitch to anyway.
Off me, yeah,
I'm not going to pitch to him anyway.
First pitch, right?
If I'm going to hit someone, it might as well be him. You know, I'd rather have him come up, with 2 outs and nobody on, but he didn't. He came up with nobody out.
Yeah.
Still wasn't going to give him anything to hit, so might as well throw it way inside. And if it hits him, it hits him.
Then listen to Max Muncy talking about the incident, as it were, and Max is confused.
But you just can't throw stuff on the field like that, and it's frustrating. We understand the fans are frustrated at us in this game, but just can't be throwing stuff on the field. That's for what the Padres were doing. Doesn't matter.
Jack said something about Profar threw something toward the dugout.
Pause. Jack said something about Profar throwing something at the dugout. That didn't happen.
Probably.
Probably.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Oh.
Involved, but
Oh. Well, number one, it wasn't Profar. It was Manny, and they talked about it after, and it wouldn't surprise me. These are the kind of little things. These are the Will Smith. Why would we throw at him? He's irrelevant. Again, you want to kick the hornet's nest. Be ready to get stung. Like you got stung last night, and I hope you come in and kick it again. And by the way, if I'm Jerks and Profar, you know what I do tomorrow? I 1,000% try to get under their skin. Walker Buehler is an easy guy, I would imagine, to get under his skin. And if I'm Jerks and Profar, you can rest assured that I'm going to go out there and act. I'm doing something. I'm going to try to get them out of their game, just like happened the other night. There's no question.
All right, we got to check traffic. Question, though. I mean, is Jurickson Profar a troublemaker?
Yeah, he's great.
Is that okay?
Jurickson Profar in this case, though, was the victim. So I'm not going to blame a victim.
Not with the fans. Well, I'll explain what I mean right after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the new Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. Wrapping things up with a few problems in the North County, guys. Got this crash on northbound 5 coastline before the Alyssa Creek Rest area. Vehicle went into a ditch over to the right shoulder. Also going to find on westbound 78 before Nordahl Road, a collision blocking middle lanes. And Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on southbound 15 near Via Rancho Parkway. It's in the center divide. San Diego, don't miss the LA Clippers taking on the Brooklyn Nets at the all-new Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. Watch hometown heroes Kawhi Leonard and Norman Powell hit the court on October 8th for a one-night-only preseason showdown. Get your tickets now at frontwavearena.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So we already know the answer to my question, and it is yes. Even his Padres teammates acknowledge that. I think Xander said something to the effect, if something's getting started, it's probably Jurickson who's starting it. And they know that. And they're not only okay with it, they're glad for it. They're glad that they have him doing it. Jackson Merrill, I had talked to him after the game about the robbing of Mookie Betts. And he said, I thought it was hilarious. Now, if I'm Mookie Betts, I'm kind of mad about that. I mean, you don't want to be. I'm sure it's embarrassing to be running around the bases, thinking you hit a home run, hitting second, rounding third, and then all of a sudden having someone tell you are out.
Yeah.
Was Jurickson specifically doing it to make a fool out of Mookie Betts? Absolutely not.
No, I mean, I think if he wanted to make a fool out of Mookie Betts, he could have gone up into the stands, grabbed it, and dead sprint into the infield, waving the ball around. You know what I'm saying? I love that he didn't even acknowledge Betts. He turned around, looked at the fan. He jumped up and down 5 times, turned around, threw the ball in. Yeah, it's a crap feeling, man. Hitting a home run's got to be really cool, especially one to tie the game. And to think that a guy went in and made a great, brilliant play. Yeah, tough for Mookie. Mookie's still hitless, so that's a tough look, man. But I don't think Jurickson did anything wrong.
Again,
either.
I fully believe Jurickson didn't even know that it had been called a home run or anything was happening. His back was to the umpires
whole infield, yeah,
and the field when that was happening.
I think everybody thought
he caught it. Yeah, and I mean, it's not like he's pulling it over a wall. He went in. He caught it. From his perspective, he just made the best play of his defensive play of his life, the one he's always dreamed of making. He's enjoying it for a moment with the fans who are trying to knock it out of his hands. He's jumping. He's celebrating. He's excited about it.
Yeah.
He shows nothing other than the fact that I caught the ball. He didn't do the old slow play it like, oh, do I have it? Do I have it? Oh, here it is. No, he had it in his glove. He's jumping. He's excited. And as soon as he turns around, he throws it to the infield. There was no slow play, slow roll, attempt to embarrass anyone else. He was excited and celebrating his big catch that he thought everyone saw because, you're in a stadium of 50,000 plus people and everyone's looking at you making that catch. He doesn't know how it looks on television or from the upper deck. He just thinks everyone just saw me make the best catch I've ever made.
Like in the beginning of the show, I said the Dodger fans that were right there were priceless. They were like, oh, my God. It was great. It was a great theatrical, cinematic.
If you want to be mad at someone, if you're a Dodgers fan,
mad at the Dodgers
be
fans.
mad at the left field umpire. You have extra umpires in playoff games.
Be mad at the fans for not snatching that ball.
And that are stationed down the line. They actually, they went, one of the guys from MLB.com went and interviewed that fan, and he goes, yeah, I mean, I'm not happy about it. I don't want to be the next Steve Bartman here. It's interesting with those low walls. Dodger Stadium, one of those places where fans can absolutely impact the game there. I'd have a little in-service. If I were the Dodgers and there's a front row, I'd walk down every game and have someone say, all right, don't reach over because they'll call that fan interference and we could lose a home run. They'll call him out. But once the ball hits that wall, you can hit his arm. You can rip off his glove. You can do anything you want. So as soon as don't be trying to catch it. If we're hitting a home run and you see an opposing fielder come to that wall, once he reaches an inch past the wall, maul him. Yeah. Maul him. The rules are on our side at that point. But they all just reach up like, oh, I'm going to catch this thing. And they didn't even look at Jurickson.
J-Rod did that to Tatis last year. And it was like, do I have it? Do I not? Do I have it? Do I not? And
that was slow play.
And it was great. It was absolutely great. So this is a beautiful, beautiful moment. I loved it. It was a great catch. Mookie, has the ability to do the exact same thing to any one of our players as well. I think Mookie knows that. My beef last night was with Jack Flaherty, and it was with people throwing stuff at players. That's where it starts and stops. And it wasn't just one player. It was happening in the bullpen. Jeremiah Estrada, Sweet Angel, was ready to throw down last night. Ready to throw down. People were throwing stuff into the Padres bullpen. Little sweet Yuki Matsui comes over, kind of puts his arms around him, drags him off. Jeremiah's a fiery guy, man. So again, if you kick the hornet's nest, you can't complain when you get stung, man, because that's exactly what they did.
That's that Imperial Valley toughness,
bro.
That he's got.
100%, man. Out there roasting in the Imperial Valley.
That toughens you up a little bit.
115 degrees in December. You tell me that guy's not ready to go anytime? Oh, yeah, and he grew up a Dodger fan as well. So, yeah, dude, it was elite. It was elite competition. It was an elite cinema. It was everything you ask for in a playoff game. And, yeah, it sucks. If you're a Dodger fan, you hate losing that game in that fashion last night. But it's just one loss.
Now, who said that if the Dodgers are going to lose, that's the way they wanted to lose?
Probably Joe Davis.
I saw that.
I think Joe Davis said
I saw that quote,
it.
And I didn't see who was it attributed to.
Yeah.
Why would you ever say that? Why would you ever want to get bodied?
Well, you don't, but you didn't have to use your highest
kind
leverage
from the
guys.
Strategic elements.
Strategically, I think he's probably right.
Okay, in that sense, yeah, you didn't use a bunch of your pitchers to try to chase a losing cause.
Correct.
In the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, and listen, guys, what's worse? The 6-5 loss in the ninth? Yeah, that one's tough.
I mean, ultimately,
they all count as
everyone
one.
But Tanner Scott is going to be on 2 days of rest.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex Jacobs probably not pitching again in the series. So other than Tanner Scott, the Padres are just as rested as the Dodgers going into Game 3 tomorrow. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's set up nicely. I mean each one you know.
So that's not the way you'd want to lose. You'd want the other team to have to use their high leverage relievers.
A bunch of high leverage.
Not have the starter go 7, have one high leverage reliever come in for one quick inning, and then get to use the back of the bullpen in the 9th. That's not how you want to lose the game. You'd rather have it be closer and not get destroyed.
If you're the Dodgers though, you're like, all right, I mean it's one loss.
Right.
Like I didn't have to use all my highest leverage arms. It's one loss. You know, we're tied. You know, and if you're the Padres, you did exactly what you needed to do. You needed to get a sweep in LA, and now you got
and
two
now the
at home.
Dodgers are saying, hey, we need to get 1 of 2
Correct.
at Petco and
get it back to LA.
Take our chances back at home in Game 5.
You're gonna have to go to that too?
Yeah.
When is Game 5?
Friday.
So you got to work here.
Then hop in the car and head on up.
And then head on up.
Yeah, and if they win, probably get on a plane to Philadelphia. Unless the Mets win, then I get to come home. But you know what?
Friday, so when's game 1?
Those are good problems.
LCS
Sunday.
would be Sunday night?
Sunday. Those are good problems. Those are the kind of problems we want to have in October. Woods? That's it for us. Annie and Elston, if their show's anything like ours, going to breeze by the next 4 hours talking more Padres baseball. We will be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., getting you ready for Game 3 of the NLDS. For Paul Reindl and Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us here at the home of the Padres, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.